Lanterns and jam jars, boys and girls, welcome to 40k 9th edition, and welcome to a bit of an experiment. Okay, so as of the date of filming this, and the roof of that building is really shiny. That's really shiny. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. But it's really shiny. Look at it. Lights are bouncing straight off the bloody thing. Anyway, maybe I should start again. Nah, whatever. We'll leave it in. As of a couple of days ago, as of the date of filming, the UK went into another national lockdown, a big hardcore one. Even the schools are shut this time. And unfortunately, it's likely to stay that way until at least the spring, apparently. Which is a bit unfortunate because I've been really wanting to do some 40k. And I'm not the only person who's been really wanting to do some 40k. Lots of us have. And it's getting really annoying. So I'm trying to figure out a way of getting around that, not only just to get my fix a little bit, but also to sort of provide some content for you guys. So I've kind of came up with an idea, and by come up with an idea, I suppose I really mean I've stolen an idea, and that is basically I'm going to play some solo 40k today. I'm going to play 40k against myself. I'm going to play with myself on camera. Yeah, that's it. Phrasing. Anyway, yeah, that's the plan today. I'm going to play a game with my own armies, playing against each other with the new 9th edition rules, and we'll see how we go. Is the plan. So I said I stole the idea, and that's true. I did. I stole it from a gentleman called Say Hi Paul here on YouTube. He's a really cool dude. You should check his channel out. Hell, I'll put a link in the description if I remember to. If you like my 40k stuff, I can't imagine a scenario in which you wouldn't like his as well, if not even more than mine, honestly, because he actually puts out a lot more 40k stuff than I do on a regular basis. Because while I am grateful for those of you who decide to chuck me occasional monies on the Patreon, I don't really do the 40k stuff full time. Paul's trying to. I don't really do it full time though, because I've got my Twitch streaming and video game stuff that I do full time instead. That's kind of my job, really. This 40k stuff I do, this is like an added bonus extra thing that I like to do for fun. That could change one day, but I doubt it. So go check out Paul, because Paul is he's in one of the sort of vulnerable categories when it comes to the COVID lockdown stuff, so he hasn't been able to play with anyone for about a year now. So he decided to start playing games against himself and putting them on YouTube, and they've worked out pretty well for him, as far as I could tell. They're bloody good fun to watch, at least. And credit where it's due, Paul, I think, for me, has kind of done a bit of a proof of concept there. I think he's proved that you can do a solo Warhammer thing, as a video at least, and have it actually be vaguely entertaining to watch, because I enjoy watching his stuff. So I thought maybe I'd give it a go. So that way I can learn 9th edition a bit, shake off some of the rust, scratch the itch, and provide you guys with something vaguely entertaining to watch in the process, hopefully. That's the idea anyway. Now, I just say shake off the rust. I am pretty rusty. Haven't played in a long time on account of all the stuff that's happened, and I'm also trying to learn 9th edition on top of that, because I barely played any of 9th edition at all. So at first I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to do solo bat reps when I haven't got a firm grasp of 9th edition yet. But then I had a little light bulb moment afterwards, and I thought, oh wait a minute, no, that's the opposite attitude to take. I should be thinking in terms of, hey, I could learn 9th edition by doing solo battle reports on YouTube, and people in the comments could tell me when I get stuff wrong. So that way I'll actually learn faster. So that's the plan, really. Anyway, yeah, if I get stuff wrong, tell me. And hopefully I'll remember. Be polite though, please. So yeah, if you haven't figured it out by now, this will be a solo battle report played against myself. If you don't fancy watching that, I completely understand. That's totally fair. I invite you to watch many of the other battle reports on my channel. I've played with my friends like Dan and Alfarius and the Claw and Bob and Heathage and everyone else, and I miss those guys all terribly. I really do. I want to play 40k with my friends again. It sucks. But until then, this is the best I could do, I'm afraid. So if you are game for it, welcome aboard. If you're not, I understand. I'll catch you next time, I guess. But for the rest of you who are staying, well, let's get into it, shall we? So, welcome one and all to the planet of Abercarn Epsilon. Now, the Abercarn system has featured in a bunch of my previous battle reports, particularly when the Imperium has been fighting Chaos, because it's in this system where the massive Crusade armada of the Acheron Crusade has run headfirst straight into a massive defense line of the forces of Chaos led by the Wordbearers. And we've fought all sorts in the Abercarn system. We've fought a lot of Alpha Legion, we've fought the World Eaters, we've fought the Black Legion, and today the Imperium is actually going to fight the Wordbearers for once. So in this region of space, this part of space called the Acheron sector, which is located within a larger bit of space called the Gulf of Athena, which I completely made up for my own battle reports. It's kind of the setting these all take place in. The whole place is dominated by a small warp storm, a bit like the Maelstrom or the Eye of Terror used to be. And in that warp storm have lived for about 10,000 years a bunch of nasty Wordbearers, as well as other tons of renegades and heretics and warbands and stuff. And ever since the Great Rift opened, the whole place exploded outwards, and there was a big Black Crusade out of it, and most of the sector, particularly the Acheron sector, has just been completely abandoned by the Imperium, and now the Acheron Crusade fleet is basically here to retake it. Unfortunately, though, they've run into a bit of a stumbling block in the Abercarn system because they've been basically ground into a bloody stalemate here, both in space and on the planets themselves. So today, we're on the world of Abercarn Epsilon, where, for months at this point, there has been indeed a total stalemate, trench warfare right across the surface of the planet, across the main continents, with neither side gaining the advantage until very, very recently. Due to a bit of an ongoing kerfuffle in the Reuvengrad system behind the Imperial lines, which is featured in the Reuvengrad campaign on this very channel that I was doing with Dan right when COVID happened, so it's stalled a bit halfway through, but we're going to continue it eventually when we're allowed to. But as a result of the events of that campaign, the Imperium has had to withdraw a lot of units from the front line here in the Abercarn system, and the forces of Chaos have taken advantage of that. And what's happened is they've made breakthroughs, and the war on Abercarn Epsilon has become mobile again. The trenches have been abandoned, forces are actually on the move again, and the Imperium is making a tactical withdrawal to try and shorten their front lines so that they can adequately defend it until reinforcements arrive, once the situation behind the lines is dealt with. Now, as this is going on, as the Imperium forces are sort of pulling back, they are finding lots of things like supply difficulties. As the front's constantly moving around, munitions and rations and stuff can't get to the places where they need to be very efficiently, because everything's in a little bit of disarray. So places like this, and I think I just dropped the charger cable, that's what that noise was. Places like this is a bunker, this is a civil defense bunker, 72 Bravo. I've just made that up. It's Civil Defense Bunker 72 Bravo, behind what was the front line, with the Imperium and Chaos battling it out with each other just over the horizon off that way somewhere. And this bunker has lots of emergency supplies in it, ammunition, rations, medical supplies, that kind of thing. And so, while a major battle is being fought elsewhere, some of the forces of the Cadian 404th Infantry Regiment have been sent here by Colonel Van Graff to try and secure this location and extract any supplies they can from the underground bunker that's beneath this. There's a little building here, the shiny building, the extremely shiny building here. There's a door on the front there which leads to a staircase which goes down and leads to an underground bunker complex beneath all this. That's the ventilation system you can see popping out of the ground there. So, they're going to come here, a small platoon, they've come here to try and scour what supplies they can, bring it back with them, and then get out of here, so that the rest of the unit, the regiment, can carry on fighting and carry on withdrawing to the designated location. Now, unfortunately, for this platoon, the Wordbearers have had pretty much exactly the same idea. They saw this place on a map that they'd stolen from the Imperials and thought, right, there's got to be some good stuff there. And since the Chaos Forces have an even worse logistical supply system than the Imperials, they pretty much operate on a looting basis. So they've come here as well to try and loot as many supplies and ammunition crates and stuff that they can. So folks, here at Civil Defence Bunker 72 Bravo is where the evil forces of chaos, led by the Word Bearers and a platoon of the Cadian 404th, will meet as they both approach this facility from opposite directions, and a battle for control of this place and the vital supplies within it will ensue. Right, down to the nuts and bolts of it. I'm going to be using the open war cards today, because the 9th edition match play missions, I think, are not very good. I don't personally like them very much. So I'm going to be using the open war cards instead. We have as the objective standoff, and this is the deployment. Pretty much what you see is what you get there. Coming at at this place from the corners, basically. As for the objective, two forces have faced off long enough. The time is nigh to strike out, claim this territory, and seize victory. So basically claim the bunker complex, basically. So place one objective marker in the centre of the battlefield. After determining deployment zones, starting with the defender, we'll roll off for that. Each player places one objective marker within their deployment zone more than 6 inches away from the edge of the battlefield. I know I have low battery, go away message on the screen. At the end of each battle round, each player scores 1 victory point if they control the objective marker within their own deployment zone, 2 victory points if they control the objective in the middle, and 3 if they control one in the opponent's deployment zone. So essentially, let's zoom this out a bit. There'll be 1 objective in the middle, 1 in each of the deployment zones, and you get 2 for the one in the middle, 1 for the one in your own zone, and 3 if you've managed to get around and cut off the enemy by running into their deployment zone. So essentially what both forces will be trying to do is get around and encircle the enemy and cut them off and take them out, essentially. So primary goal will be to sort of get the central objective and control this place, but alternatively they may choose to go around and cut the enemy off from behind. We'll see what happens. I'm going to be playing this very narratively, as you probably know if you watch this channel for a while, but regardless, especially so because this is a game of solo hammer, I will be playing this from the perspective of the two commanders in this battle and what they would do narratively, as opposed to what the best tactical move to make would be from a gameplay standpoint. Competitive this will not be. What's the point? I'm competing against myself after all. I will attempt to, in other words, essentially kind of role play the commanders from their own perspectives and their troops from their own perspective, and have the armies kind of act accordingly. That's the idea anyway. We'll see how we actually get on in practice. But there we go. Right, let's look at the armies, starting with the Cadian 404th and a very small element of the Cadian 407th Armoured. This is, right here at the front, Lieutenant Bosco. He is a newly promoted junior officer commanding a platoon in the Cadian 404th. He's got a nice sword. It is a relic sword called the Blade of Conquest. He's got a plasma pistol, and he has a rather swish leather jacket that I'm quite fond of. He also has his command squad with him, which consists of a Voxcaster, a medic, a dude with a plasma gun, a veteran with a plasma gun, and a veteran with a melter gun. Also, because this is a scouting mission, we've brought with us some ratlings. Basically hobbits in space armed with sniper rifles. They make excellent scouts. There are a lot of abhumans in the 404th because manpower is always a bit short in the 404th on account of the Cadians' homeworld being blown to smithereens by the forces of chaos. So they kind of scrape up any manpower where they can get it, even if the manpower is a little on the short side. Usually I'm fielding Ogrins with the Cadian 404th, but we do have ratlings as well, as you can see. So they'll be ranging ahead of the main force, setting up a good spot and watching the horizon through their scopes. We also have the bulk of a platoon with us as well, 3 infantry squads. This one with a plasma gun, Voxcaster, Flamer and Voxcaster, and I think this was also a Flamer and Voxcaster, obviously with the sergeant as well. They are a bit of a motley bunch, the Cadian 404th. definitely, as you can tell by looking at them. They've been on campaign a very long time. They've always been a bit short on munitions and resources, which is why they always know the best spots to find some and loot some. Although, of course, it's requisitioned in the name of the God Emperor, not looted. That would be criminal behaviour. We can't have that. We also have a heavy weapons team made of 3 rocket teams, or missile teams, I guess. We're not orcs, are we? We don't have rocket launchers, we have missile launchers. Who will be firing either crack or frag missiles as the situation demands. Because this is basically, this is a platoon in old Imperial Guard money, in sort of like 3rd, 4th edition kind of time. You've got the command squad with the officer, heavy weapons team, 3 squads, that's a platoon. Or at least it used to be back in the day when I played, with the additional ratlings, essentially. And we have a Leman Russ exterminator tank, which is detached from its platoon in the 407th and accompanied these guys to provide some heavy support should the situation demand it. Colonel Van Graff, back behind the lines wherever it is he is currently, isn't stupid. He knows they could run into something out here quite nasty. They've been fighting chaos for a while, after all. They should know what to expect by now. So he has requested the support of the 407th, and they've managed to spare him a single tank, a Leman Russ exterminator, with the dual exterminator autocannons on the turret and a heavy bolter in the hull. No sponson weapons, as you can see, although a lovely little message scrawled on the side by a nearby guardsman which says, "Creed lives," because he surely does, right? He's definitely not dead, right? Anyway. So that's the Cadian force today. It's roughly 600 points. I say roughly because I didn't really check. I can't remember. I just built out the little army until I was satisfied with it for the scenario, and then I built out the other army, the Word Bearers, which we're about to see in a minute, to sort of match points-wise. It is a small-scale game. It is not quite a combat patrol game, I think, technically, because combat patrol is 0 to 500 points, and this is about 600, but whatever. It's a very small combat patrol game. I'm going to treat it as a combat patrol game in terms of how many command points we get, and stuff like that as well, by the way, so yeah. Alright, cool. So there's the Cadians, there's Lieutenant Bosco. New on the job, probably one of his first assignments this. Let's hope it goes well for him, or if you're a Chaos supporter, let's hope it goes terribly badly for him. Speaking of Chaos, let's go look at them. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the bearers of the word. Well, some of them. A small number of them. About 12 of them, to be specific. And a whole lot of cannon fodder. Now, my Wordbearers Warband, the chapter of the Dark Moor, is ruled by 3 guys, specifically. I have a bit of a triumvirate of sorts. And those 3 guys are Tal Ezra, the Chaos Lord, Korbarik, the Dark Apostle, and this guy, Lachesis, the Sorcerer, who now has a fancy new true scale model, which I've painted for him. This is brand new, just finished painting that this morning. And for this particular job of going off to find supplies at this outpost, Lachesis has been said to do this because of the 3 of them, there's a definite pecking order. Korvarik, the Dark Apostle, is at the top because he's a Dark Apostle, and they hold a lot of power within the Legion. Tal Ezra comes second because of his experience, essentially. He's one of the few guys left in the warband that was around since the days of the Horus Heresy. Down at the bottom of the pecking order is Lachesis, the Sorcerer, because he's the youngest of them, and he's also a sorcerer, so they kind of don't like him that much. And also, he doesn't particularly care for the responsibilities of command anyway. So he usually gets the duff jobs like this. So he's come here with a small force, and he's been accompanied by an exalted champion who's equipped with it looks like a thunderhammer, but I'm pretty sure it's a power fist because I don't think exalted champions can take thunderhammers. I might be wrong though. I'll have to check that. But today I think we'll just treat it as a power fist and a bolt pistol. Now he actually does have a name, but I've forgotten what it is. I've been thinking of getting those nameplate things you can stick on bases to actually, help me remember some of this stuff. But this particular exalted champion was once an aspiring champion who, in a game with Winter's SEO over on the deployment zone, brought down an Imperial Valiant Knight with a bolt pistol. clinked off the last wound on it with a bolt pistol while he was stood within the shadow of the great towering Colossus itself. It was quite epic, and ever since then he's been elevated to the rank of Exalted Champion, which basically means that he's an independent character that provides rerolls to wound to other nearby Legion units, and he gets to reroll hit rolls of 1, I think, against enemy characters, if I recall. I think that's a new thing, but anyway. He's a very fighty dude, essentially, and he's playing second fiddle to Lachesis, who is a Chaos Sorcerer, now equipped with a Force Stave. He used to have a Force Axe, now he's got a Force Stave, and he has... His Warlord trait is one of the special Wordbearer ones from Psychic Awakening. It is Blasphemous or Unholy Regeneration, something like that. Basically, he has an extra wound, so he has 5 wounds, and every turn he regains D3 wounds. So he's using his unholy magics to regenerate himself every turn, which is pretty useful when you're a Psyker and you occasionally suffer from perils of the warp. So there you go. That's his Warlord trait. His relic is a magic book that I don't remember the name of from the Psychic Awakening as well. It's like the Malefic Tome or something like that. Basically, it gives him access to an extra psychic power, and he gets to add 1 to his psychic tests as well. His psychic powers in this battle are going to be Strength of Chaos. What is it called? Hold on. Diabolic Strength, that was the one. Can you tell it's been a while? Anyway, Diabolic Strength, which buffs the attack and strength characteristics of the target unit you cast the power on. He'll probably be casting that on either himself or on his Exalted Champion here at some point, I imagine. I think it's model and not unit, so you couldn't do it on an entire squad like these guys over here. Speaking of these guys over here, this is a 10-man Chaos Marine squad. They have a las cannon and a missile launcher in it. They're going to be riding in this Rhino, which they got here with. Rhinos have a unit capacity of 10, rather irritatingly, rather than 12 like some other transports these days do. But I just pretend that these guys rode in the Rhino with them to get here, and it was just a little bit squashed in there for a while. While these poor gits had to foot slog it. But yes, 10 Chaos Marines with a Banner of Vengeance, an Icon of Vengeance, I believe, which gives the unit +1 leadership, if I recall. They are word bearers, so they're also re-rolling failed morale tests in addition to that, which is not a particularly great Legion trait, but we'll see how it fares in 9th edition. The rest of them have bolt guns, and we have a champion equipped with a power fist, as well as a bolt pistol. So, right, we also have some demons. Some plague bearers specifically. The main reason for that is because the only other demons I've got at the moment are corn demons, and I can't see a sorcerer being able to summon corn demons somehow. I don't think that would work, really. So it's Nurgle demons. It's a small unit of plague bearers, which Lachesis has summoned prior to this battle beginning and marshalled them onto the battlefield in the direction of the bunker to face whatever enemies may be there. In fact, I'm pretty sure both forces are aware of each other at this point. They will have spotted each other in advance of actually arriving here. So he has summoned a unit of Plague Bearers. They have Disgustingly Resilient. They have their 5-up Demonic Invulnerable saves. And that one there is the champion with the heads he's carrying, who has +1 attack. Very good. We have 2 units of Cultists. We have this one over here. For simplicity's sake, they're all going to be considered Cultists with auto guns with a Flamer. And that guy with the tentacle there, he's the Cultist Champion. Same deal with this squad over here. These guys are actually Traitor Guardsmen from the Crimson Legion, which is my sort of Traitor Guard sort of army that I have. However, today they'll be counted as Cultists. This is the Champion, the one with the chainsword here. And same again, all considered to have auto guns, which effectively are the same as las guns, which they're modelled with. And this guy here has a Flamer. So there we go. Plenty of cannon fodder to throw at the enemy Imperial Guard, heretics. Well, I suppose the heretics from the Wordbearer's perspective. The Loyalist scum. We also have a Rhino, which I've already mentioned. It has a combi bolter and a Havoc missile launcher, and it will basically mostly, I think, these guys might start in the Rhino, we'll see, but mostly it'll be just driving around to provide a bit of additional fire support, I think, now that it's transported these guys here. Is there anything else? Done the Warlord trait, done the Relic, mentioned the Legion trait. Small house rule. I'm going to start introducing some house rules, particularly in games where I'm playing against myself, so I might as well. The house rule in this battle is that demons, because they're such an integral part of the way the word bearers fight, demons in a detachment with a bunch of other word bearer stuff will not cause the word bearers to lose their Legion trait, in the same way that you can include Militarum Tempestus units in an Imperial Guard detachment, in the same way that you can include like an Inquisitor in an Imperium detachment without losing your trait, or an Assassin or something like that. For the word bearers, and I think this should just be a rule in general if you ask me, by including the Plague Bearers as presented in their codex, the Chaos Marine Codex has got Plague Bearers in it. By including these guys in the detachment, which you can't legally do, because again it's in the codex, they won't lose their Legion detachment because they're word bearers. They fight alongside demons all the time. That's what they do. So that's my house rule that I'm running for these guys today. I think that is it. I actually forgot something. Back over here again, I mentioned that Bosca's Relic is the Sword of Conquest, which is a very fancy power sword. What I failed to mention is his Warlord trait, which is Bellowing Voice. I've gone for a different one for once. Normally I go with Master of Command, because normally Colonel Van Graff is in charge, and he is a Master of Command. He's a clever bloke. However, Lieutenant Bosca, I don't really feel like giving him Master of Command would be appropriate, since he's a bit of a new guy on the job. But he's got a good set of lungs on him, so I've given him Bellowing Voice, which basically means his voice of command ability, so his ability to give out orders, is extended to 9 inches instead of just 6 inches. And I think it might add also to it if you're within range of a Voxcaster. I'm not totally sure, I will check that later. Each of these squads does have a Voxcaster, including his command squad, so it might not be tremendously relevant, but it would allow him to shout an order to, say, this heavy weapons group here from a bit further away, which could be useful. So yeah, he's got a loud bellowy voice, good parade ground shouty voice. That's what he's got going for him. It's not a Warlord trait that is very commonly used, because pretty much everybody just uses Master of Command. So, or the one that allows you to regenerate command points or whatever. So I thought I'd go for something different, for a different character today. Right, I think it's time we went and deployed. Right, back over here again, because I forgot that I actually failed to mention the other 2 psychic powers for Lachesis. So, yeah, I got distracted, as I often do, and ended up talking about something else. His other 2 powers, in addition to Diabolic Strength, are Prescience and Warp Time, which we'll get to when they become relevant. He can still only cast 2, I think, per turn, but he has access to those 3 plus Smite. So, anyway, let's actually go and deploy now for reals. Okay, everyone, our 2 forces are deployed in their kind of opposite corners. It was a really dodgy one to measure out, this deployment type, actually, but I think I've more or less managed it. I'll give you the overview right now. Obviously, I've put the objective markers down. You've got one here in the middle. The Cadian's home objective marker is there, and the Chaos one is just over there by that hill, behind these walls. So, the Cadians, for their part, they've deployed out this way. Lieutenant Bosco and his command squad are right here behind this tree, with a squad in front of him, taking cover behind this building. Another squad here in front of the missile teams, moving, looking to move forward up to this barricade at the very least before going further and taking the objective in the middle. And the objective in the middle, it's very exposed. I think both forces are probably going to be feeling very skittish about actually trying to grab the one in the middle, because of how little cover there is there. There's lots of firing lines into the centre. It's going to be tricky. The Ratlings used their Find the Best Spot ability to deploy over here outside their usual deployment zone, up on this hill, which is going to count as cover, light cover I think it is called with the new terrain rules. I believe the core rules do actually suggest that hills should count as an exposed position and not as cover, but I say nuts to that. There's lots of long grass up there, lots of little rocky outcroppings and stuff. The Ratlings should be able to take cover there, no problem, if you ask me. So I'm going to count that as light cover. Right. For the Chaos side's part, for the word bearer's part. Let's have a look over here. I'm dragging the charging cable with me right now. Sorry if it's making... I was about to say sorry if it makes any weird noise, and then the recording just cut off for no apparent reason. The custom app on my phone I'm using to film this with, I'm getting really unimpressed with it, frankly. It drains the battery like crazy. It randomly cuts off the recording for no reason. I've got plenty of space left on this thing. I don't understand. I might just have to go back to the regular app, which doesn't have as good sound quality, but it doesn't give me all this grief. Anyway, the word-bearer deployment is like this. We have Lachesis and the aspiring champion, well, exalted champion, over here. Now, they're possibly in line of sight of those ratlings, who, of course, can shoot characters. But I figured they also probably aren't necessarily aware of the ratling's presence just yet, so it would feel a bit cheesy for them to, a bit gamey for them to deploy hiding behind a barricade or something, cowering behind, a wall or whatever. So, they kind of are to an extent, but yeah. We have the demons up front. They are the most expendable, because obviously, Lachesis can just summon some more of those later. We have one unit of cultists on top of this crushed Aquila, which is also going to count as light cover. And we have the unit of traitor guardsmen, aka cultist squad number 2, behind this wall, taking cover presently because they're very squishy and they're not stupid. So there's going to be some incoming fire and they want to avoid it as long as they possibly can. At least until the sorcerer marshals them forward, and then they don't have a choice. The Chaos Marine squad has deployed in the Rhino, which is over here, because they potentially are going to be wanting to try and flank around the side, probably take out the ratlings on their way over there, but potentially try and get access to that juicy 3 victory points a turn for the back objective there, if they can get around. You'll notice the Cadian tank is kind of put right at the back, because that's where it would be. It's sort of backfield fire support that the lieutenant will order forwards if he decides it becomes necessary. And it's also deployed in such a way that it can be sent up this flank or round towards the middle if need to be, because they haven't quite decided what they want to do with it yet. So the tank is sort of staying at the back there instead of deploying somewhere else. But the Chaos Marines, they want to try and flank around. That's Lachesis' plan at the minute, or at least move a bit further forward before disembarking and laying down some fire with the las cannon and missile launcher. But the plan may change as the battle unfolds, as it often does. So there we go. That is the deployment. Time to roll off to see who goes first. Got 2 dice here, white for the Cadians and this dark red sort of jewel dice here for the word bearers. We're off to a good start. Excellent. Let's try that again. It's going to be the Cadians going first. 4 to a 1. And there's no such thing as Seize the Initiative in 9th edition, which makes me a bit sad, but oh well. Turn 1, Imperial Guard movement phase is concluded. Squads have moved forward. We'll call these guys Squad 2. Second squad, they are moving this way to get through this gap between these 2 buildings and into the central sort of courtyard area, hoping probably to take cover behind those ventilation pipes over there. The lieutenant and his squad have moved up behind these crates and behind this building to get a slightly more commanding view of what's going on over here. And this squad, third squad, have moved up to this barricade to take cover and start opening fire at the heretics as they come this way in the opposite direction. These 3 missile teams have stayed still so that they can reroll once to hit, being Cadians after all, and they've got a pretty good view anyway, so no need to move them. Over on the left flank, first squad has moved up ever so slightly to get a better view, but while remaining within 3 inches of that deployment zone objective there. So in the next command phase, if they've not been wiped out, they'll still get a point for that. And so will this Lehman Russ tank. The Lehman Russ has moved up the left flank on reflection, and we'll be looking to open fire on anything it can see. It has moved less than half of its full movement range. It moved just under 5 inches, so it will be able to use its grounding advance ability, and that turret weapon will be able to fire twice. Lovely jubbly. And in the new edition, Because it's a vehicle, it can move and fire heavy weapons without penalty now, so they will hit on 4+ instead of 5+, which is jolly nice. Jolly nice indeed. In fact, the Ratlings have stayed obviously where they are. Their snipers are heavy weapons, so they'd rather not move. And plus they're in cover right now, which they get an extra bonus for being in cover, being Ratlings. They get +2 to their cover save instead of +1, which is pretty good. So, that's the movement. Not terribly exciting, but that's Imperial Guard movement for you, especially Cadian movement, anyway. We're basically trying to set up good fields of fire right around here and wait for the heretics to move forward, because that's how the Cadians tend to do things. They like to set up good, overlapping fields of fire, and then fire in those quick disciplined volleys that they're famous for and bring down the enemy at range. So, and particularly being a junior officer who's new to this, I think Lieutenant Bosco is very much going by the book on this one. You know, he sat up late at night reading the Tactica Imperium cover to cover again and again and again, and he's going to do what his textbooks tell him in this scenario, which is to try and flank around a bit and set up good fields of fire. So that will bring us straight into the shooting phase, and I'm going to skip a lot of the dice rolling in this just to keep the length of the video down. And to be honest with you, I find personally when I'm watching a battle report, constant dice rolling really makes me switch off. So what I will probably do is summarize a lot of the action, and in a lot of cases what I will do is I will skip straight to the saving throws as opposed to showing you the hit and the wound roll and everything like that, because we'll just get this done quicker that way and hopefully be a bit more exciting to watch. That's the plan anyway. It's an experiment. We'll see how we get on. Let me know what you think down in the comments. So yeah, let's jump into the shooting. Right, having just said all that, there's not actually a lot of shooting in this first turn because virtually all of my infantry squads, that's a bit weird to say when I'm playing against myself for some reason. Anyway, all of the infantry squads are out of shooting range with their las guns and therefore everything else they're equipped with. So they're not doing any shooting because that's the main thing I probably would have summarised. So what we are going to start with is these Ratlings, and they're actually going to be shooting across at Lachesis, the enemy warlord. He's got the most spiky bits on him, therefore he's probably the most important. So they're going to try and shoot him, and Lachesis over there is probably going to get a very rude awakening right about now. So it's going to be 8 shots from the Ratlings, and these guys hit on 3s because they are sneaky little hobbits that are very good marksmen. Okay, that's a very good start. Only 2 missed. And then these guys will wound on 4 pluses, and 6s to wound will inflict a mortal wound. So that's 1 mortal wound on the sorcerer, and 2 regular wounds that he can save with his armour. So through 2 armour saves, because this doesn't have any AP. He saves 1. So the Lachesis has just taken 2 wounds. It's a pretty good thing for him that he has Infernal Regeneration, or Sacrilegious Regeneration, or I still can't remember the name of that ward trait, you know. But anyway, ouch, 2 wounds. He's got 3 remaining. Right, so as Lachesis is now busy ducking and cursing as a couple of long lance shots pierce the chinks in his power armour, next, these missile squads are going to be opening... Missile teams are going to be opening fire with a bunch of frag missiles. I'll get this whole commentary thing right one day, you know. Frag missiles into the oncoming small itty bitty horde of demons. Now, these are blast weapons in the new edition, frag missiles, so they'll do a minimum 3 shots each, I think, against that unit, because there's 10 guys in it. So, let's roll. It's D6 shots each. Okay, so it's going to be 3 each, basically. So that's blast weapons coming into effect. And as I'm doing this, I'm going to be spending a command point on concentrated fire as well, which is a psychic awakening stratagem, which allows them to add 1 to their hit rolls and their wound rolls. So, alright, these pieces of shrapnel are going to be hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s now as a result of concentrated fire and the Cadian regimental doctrine. Re-roll those 1s. Okay, that's not too bad, is it? Now, in fact, that's pretty jolly good. And these will be wounding on 3s as well, thanks to concentrated fire. Although that's not so great. Oof. Big oof. Right, the Plague Bearers have 5-up demon saves, which they make 1 of, and then that is followed by 5-up disgustingly resilient, which they don't make either of. So 2 Plague Bearers go squelching back into the warp. Finally, this Lemurios Exterminator is going to turn its turret and level its guns at the demons as well. The Lieutenant barking out over the Vox, concentrate fire on the demons. And so that's exactly what they're going to do. It's going to fire all of its guns, the Heavy Bolter and the Twin Exterminator autocannon, at those guys. And due to grounding advance, it will be firing that autocannon twice. I'm going to roll it at the same time to save time. Hitting on 4s. Pretty good roll, that. Wounding on 3s. Also pretty good. And it has AP, but it won't matter because demon saved on 5-ups. Ooh. Nurgle smiles on them today. Alright, and then this will be 2 disgustingly resilient rolls because autocannons do 2 damage. Makes 1, fails 1. So another Plague Bearer does go squelch and explodes into lots of glorious iggy bits as an autocannon shell rips into him. Next it's the Heavy Bolter. Hull mounted 1. And we got 1 hit, 1 wound, demon save, failed, disgustingly resilient, and Heavy Bolters do 2 damage a pop in 9th edition, so no. Alright, so the charge and fight phases have been observed, along with the psychic phase I suppose earlier, but nothing will happen in them because there's no charging and fighting. Which brings us to the morale phase, and the only morale test being taken is these Plague Bearers who lost 4 models, their leadership 7, so they're fine. They're not going anywhere just yet. They still want to kill some mortals. Right, here it is, the Word Bearer's movement phase concluded, and that took a bit of thinking. Yeah, change of plan in a few places. So what's happened is, these cultists that are up here have been ordered to come back here and secure this objective and also protect the sorcerer who is ducked behind that wall, probably still cursing and swearing and saying something along the lines of, alright, so that's how it's going to be, eh? So, meanwhile, over on the right flank, what's happened is this Chaos Marine squad has been ordered to disembark and move up this way. And the Rhino, the driver of the Rhino, has been given separate orders to move this way and drive up the middle because actually the Rhino could quite feasibly park itself on that middle objective and be relatively difficult to remove. The tricky bit will be annihilating the threat to the Rhino, such as those missile teams over there and the tank. So that's why this squad over here with its las cannon and missile launcher has moved around just far enough after disembarking to be able to shoot the tank and also lay down some fire into the ratlings up here with their bolt guns. So these guys are going to be trying to take out as many ratlings as possible and the tank potentially. Meanwhile, Cultist Squad number 2 is making its way up this left flank behind these walls and barricades and buildings and stuff, trying to get a better line of fire around the side without being, mowed down by Cadians. The demons have just, shuffled forwards as commanded, lumbering towards the enemy and towards that central objective to give the Cadians something to shoot at that isn't a mortal. And the Exalted Champion has moved and advanced, dashed round here, as these guys did actually. In fact, pretty much all of these guys here, except for the Sorcerer, moved and advanced. He's moved and advanced around the side of this building, angling to try and get a bit closer to the enemy. Because he'd ideally like to get in amongst all those guardsmen and start ripping and tearing, but he's got to actually get there first. So at the moment he's sneaking up around here behind this building, trying to stay out of line of sight of most of them. Right, that's what's going on. The Sorcerer's plans have changed, and we'll see if they pay off. It's looking a bit awkward. Heretic Dave is sitting here thinking, how am I going to solve this little puzzle I've been given? While Cadian Dave sits over there very smug behind his trench line. So yeah. One last thing I do need to do actually is regenerate the wounds on Lachesis. So start of his turn, he gets to regenerate because of sacrilegious regeneration. So D3 wounds back on him. 2 wounds, so he has 4 wounds left now. Actually no, he's back up to 5. Brilliant, I'll just remove the wound dice. Okay, so he's back up to full wounds. Lovely jubbly. Very nice little warlord trait, that, you know. And technically, yeah, like I said, do it at the start of the turn, but it was just easier to do it this way. So, into the shooting phase for the forces of chaos. And, yes. Do you know what? I think I'm going to start with the Rhino, because its combi bolt is in range of some squishy guardsmen, and its Havoc Launcher should be able to shoot at those heavy weapons teams at the back there. So I think I'm going to start with that. Alright, so let's do the Havoc missile launcher first. Again, a blast weapon, much like the Frag missiles on those guys. It is D6 shots, minimum 3, because it's firing at... Well, actually, no, not minimum 3, because it's not firing at a squad of 10. It's firing at a bunch of little guardsmen, but we rolled a 4 anyway, so... Whatevs. 4 shots. Did I remember to show that 4 on the camera before I grabbed it? Can you tell I'm a bit rusty at this, folks? Can you tell it's been a little while since I filmed a bat rap? Anyway, 4 shots, hitting on 3s. Well then. The Chaos Gods are fickle masters at times, aren't they? I have nothing more to say about that. Oh dear. Right, the combi bolter on the bright side did manage to kill 1 guardsman. 1 Cadian over there has bought the farm behind that barricade. It didn't help them, but still, I'm very disappointed. I'm very disappointed with that Havoc launcher. That is a Rhino gunner that is going to suffer a very sticky end after this battle is over, I suspect. Regardless, unless he can redeem himself, we'll see. Regardless, though, I did forget the psychic phase. In classic SorcererDave fashion, I could try and go back and edit it seamlessly in to look as if I hadn't forgotten it, but that's what a professional would do. And do I look like a professional to you? No, I didn't think so. So we're going to backtrack slightly to the psychic phase even. And the key says there's only 1 psychic power he can actually cast this turn. He can do 2, but there's only 1 that's actually relevant, because he can't smite anything. He's not close enough to do warp time anything that would need to be warp timed. And Diabolic Strength isn't going to help anyone right now. So what he is going to do, though, is he's going to cast Prescience on these Chaos Marines over here, which he's just within 18 inches of them, so he can do this. He'll cast this on a 7. That is an 8, that will do. The Imperial Guard cannot deny that in any way, shape or form. So these guys will have +1 to hit with their weapons. Basically, it's to help the heavy weapons counterbalance the fact that they've got out and moved from a vehicle. So they would be hitting on 4s. Now they'll be hitting on 3s, and the bolt guns will be hitting on 2s, which is rather nice, I think. So, yeah, I'm going to do these guys next. We'll start with the Marines with bolt guns levelling their weapons up at that hill there to fire a whole swarm of mass reactive exploding shots into the long grass. See if they can kill some of those pesky hobbitses. 8 shots were fired, 8 shots hit, 8 shots wounded. I did spend a command point on Veterans of the Long War, mostly for the benefit of the 2 heavy weapons over here, because you can't wound the poor little toughness 2 halflings on anything better than a 2+. So they have 8 4-up saves to make, those halflings, 1 for each of them. They get 4-up because they have a 6-up save, but they get +2 for being in cover because they're halflings, ratlings, whatever. So they've gotten very lucky indeed. The Emperor protects, apparently. Even the little guys he protects, because only 1 ratling has bought it. Alright, now it's the big guns. We'll start with the las cannon. I will roll all of this on camera just because it's a cool little heavy weapon. 1 shot, hitting on a 3+. It does hit. It will wound that Leman Russ Exterminator on a 2+, because of Veterans of the Long War. It wounds on a 6 anyway. It's AP -3. Yes, we're not Loyalist Space Marines. We don't get the Devastator Doctrine. It will wound them. It will be AP -3, so it will get a 6-up save. The Leman Russ. It fails that, and it will be D6 damage on the las cannon. You know what? A lot of weapons have changed profiles in 9th edition. I'm going to double check that las cannons haven't changed. Alright, las cannons haven't changed. They're the same as they used to be. So D6 damage is for 4 damage. That's not bad. Before I'm tempted to command point reroll, I should mention, well, before someone is tempted to mention command point reroll in the comments, I should state that I guess it's not really a house rule, I suppose. It's just a personal preference. I won't be using command point rerolls, particularly in these solo games, because I think it's more fun to let the dice gods actually tell the story and not spoil the fun by rerolling a 1 into a 6 every now and again, just to be extra jammy. So if that had been a 1 damage, I would not have CP rerolled that. So 4 damage down on the Leman Russ over there, which means it has 8 wounds remaining. Still a fair old chunk to get through. Certainly won't blow it up this turn, but it could certainly damage it enough that it won't be able to hit the broadside of a barn, which is always nice. So missile launcher next, firing a crack missile, hitting on a 3. It does hit. Wounding on a 3 because of Veterans of the Long War. It does wound. Save -2, so the tank will get a 5-up save, which it doesn't make. And d6 damage. For 5. Oof. Oof. Nice. Leman Russ is now... There's 2 ruddy grey holes in the front of it with smoke coming out. And it might be ever so slightly on fire. It's not quite destroyed yet. The tank crew inside have definitely got out the welding tools and the duct tape and are doing their best to hold it together. So it can still fight back, but it's not going to be hitting on 4+ anymore, let's put it that way. Well, that's all the shooting done. The Chaos Gods finally smiling on the word bearers right at the end there with those really, really nice meaty shots into the enemy tank. Less about that Havoc Launcher the better though. So there'll be no charging or fighting this turn, so we go straight to the morale phase, and there's 2 morale tests to do. One on this squad of guardsmen over here that actually did lose a trooper. However, because they've got a sergeant in the squad, they can't possibly fail a morale test. You can't roll high enough on a single d6. So, meanwhile, though, the ratlings, now, they only lost 1 little ratling because the Emperor himself reached down to protect the little fellas, apparently. However, the problem is, ratlings are... I don't want to call them cowards. They just have a very strong sense of self-preservation. The poor little beggars are only leadership 5. So, I'm afraid we will have to do a morale test, and if we roll really high on it, they might be in a bit of bother. It's a 5. Oh dear. So that is... so they lose... Well, they fail a morale test, which means that one of them immediately legs it. So... sorry, reaching over, that guy legs it, and now we have to roll. I almost did it the wrong way. My head is still stuck in 8th edition. Now there are 6 of them left, so we need to roll 1 dice for each of them. This is called the combat attrition test, I believe. And for every one of them runs away, but they're good. The rest of them stand firm. One of them has snuck off into the long grass, never to be seen again, one suspects. And the rest of them, however, have stuck around. They have stood firm. I believe these 2s would have failed if the squad was below half its starting strength, but it's not. So, new edition, everybody. Stuff to learn and remember, and it's all a bit much for me sometimes. Anyway, 1 ratling has legged it. The rest are sticking around. Okay, it's Cadian turn 2. Cadian Dave's turn 2, and we've just finished the movement phase. In the command phase at the start, the Cadians did in fact score 1 point over there for the Leman Russ stood next to their deployment zone objective. So 1 point to the Cadians so far, 0 to the word bearers because they'll score theirs in their turn, in their command phase. So at least I'm assuming that. I am making a big assumption there because that's the way it works in the match play missions. But actually, when do you score objectives in this mission? Because this is the open war cards. Let me just check. Alright, well I'm glad I checked that because that has changed the complexion of the scoreline somewhat. In this mission, you actually score at the end of the battle round, not in your command phase like in the match play missions. I think I actually prefer it this way anyway. I don't like the whole scoring points in your command phase thing in the match play missions. I don't think it... I'm going to stop now before I embark on a complete tangent rant. But what it means is now that I've actually read the small print, it means that the word bearers are actually in the lead right now on points. They have 3 points because they control that objective in their backfield. And those plague bearers, I measured it up, and they are in fact within 3 inches, just within 3 inches of the middle objective. So, yeah, 3 points for the word bearers, only 1 for the Cadians because they only got that one over there. So, oh dear. So what's actually happened then? Well, missile teams have stayed exactly where they are to benefit from their Cadian reroll bonus, as has this squad lined up behind their nice cozy barricade. The lieutenant and his squad have also remained where they are, because actually the melter gunner and, well, the melter gunner's probably not in range, but the plasma gunner's got some good line of sight right now into those plague bearers. So that's good. The tank has stayed where it is because I haven't checked just yet, but it's definitely down at least 1 bracket with only 3 wounds left. So, although actually no, I keep forgetting, in 9th edition a vehicle can move and not have its heavy weapons be debuffed hit-wise. Well, it stayed where it is anyway because it can now hold that objective with a good field of fire, and it allows this infantry squad to move up behind this barricade, and also they can now get some shots with their plasma gun and probably a couple of other guys at those Chaos Marines. The Ratlings have stayed where they are. Second squad has pushed up past through this gap in the buildings here to get behind these pipes, edging closer to the central objective, which they might be able to control from behind the pipes if they move up a bit further. That's something I might potentially do. I didn't issue any orders in the previous turn, mostly because I forgot, because I haven't done this in ages, but also there weren't very many relevant ones I could give at the time. The main one I should have done is issue Take Aim as an order to the missile teams. Whoops. I'm going to roleplay that as Lieutenant Bosca being a little bit new at this, and therefore he kind of lost focus for a second, and these veteran missile team guys got on with the job regardless. So, yeah, totally that's what happened. He will be issuing orders this time, though, as we head into the shooting phase, past the psychic phase, because I ain't nothing to do in the psychic phase for the Cadians. And the first order he's going to issue is, of course, first rank, fire! Second rank, fire! To these fine gentlemen right here, who are going to be firing an awful lot of shots at those demons, because the warp scum must be destroyed. Not only are they an offence to the Emperor's light and to our own eyes, but they are also currently controlling the middle objective, and therefore they must be destroyed. So, that's exactly what we're going to do. Well, with the extra shots from first rank fire, second rank fire, and the Cadians' own famous reputation for disciplined volleys of fire, they have unfortunately only scored 2 wounds on the Plague Bearers, because their toughness 4 then Plague Bearers. It was a good round of shooting, but the wounding just didn't come through for the Guardsmen. So, 2 5-up demonic saves to make for the Plague Bearers, which they fail both of, and then 2 disgustingly resilient rolls, which they make neither of either, actually. So, to be fair, that went quite well. I believe Heretic Dave will probably be knocking down that Plague Bearer and that Plague Bearer, as the others move up to fill the gaps left by the ones that were probably shot at the front, and then they move up, and that's what that's supposed to represent. Anyway, okay, clearly we need some slightly more potent firepower. That's going to be these guys. Now, problem here is, well, you know what? We probably don't need to order these guys to take aim. They did jolly well fine by themselves last time, so what the lieutenant's instead going to do is he's actually going to issue the order forwards for the Emperor on these gentlemen over here. Is it forwards for the Emperor, or is it move, move, move? Let me just check. The order is move, move, move. These gentlemen are now, with the order, move, 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 able to move and advance again in the shooting phase as if it were the movement phase. And that's exactly what they've done. They've hopped up over these pipes to secure the centre ground, which they will now control. Because I don't think those Plague Bearers will count as objective secured. In other words, they won't be able to secure an objective in spite of being outnumbered by non-troops choices. In the context of a Chaos Marine army. I'm not sure if anyway, it doesn't matter. There's more Guardsmen than there are Plague Bearers at this point anyway. So I have jumped them over this so they can secure the middle ground. For how long, we're not really sure, but the Lieutenant has has ordered them forwards, and forwards they have gone. So that's all of his orders he can do. He only gets 2. He's a company commander, even though he's a lieutenant, because rather irritatingly, and I hope they fix this in the next codex in 9th edition, platoon commanders are an elite choice in the Imperial Guard Codex instead of an HQ choice, which means that you literally can't field a lore-accurate platoon in a patrol detachment game, in a combat patrol game, because the guy commanding it is not considered an HQ choice, he's considered an elite choice. And even more bafflingly, a Primaris Psyker is considered an HQ choice and not an elite choice. So, could you just swap those two around, please? It would make me much happier. So, even though he's a lieutenant, I'm running him as a company commander, because otherwise I don't have an HQ choice in this army, and that's just annoying. Anyway. Right. That has now been ordered and immediately resolved, which means we now move on to shooting with something else, and that's going to be these 3 missile launchers here, and I'm going to use concentrated fire again as they fire 3 frag missiles at those plague bearers. With a mighty whoosh and then a large explosion over here, those frag missiles very much hit their targets, rolled really high for the number of shots that time. However, due to that disgusting Nurgle resilience, only 2 plague bearers go down. They made a ton of their demon saves and a ton of their disgustingly resilient saves. Only 2 plague bearers are knocked out by 3 frag missiles. That is madness, especially with concentrated fire used on them as well. Good grief. Papa Nurgle, you do what you do very well. Let's put it that way. Right. The missile teams have fired. I've viewed the results of their explosions with perhaps a little bit of dismay, but regardless, we must press on, for we have other targets, other priorities. The demons are no longer quite so much of a priority because we do now control the central objective. So target priority is possibly now going to switch over to that squad of Chaos Space Marines over there, and maybe the Rhino as well. So, so first things first, actually, is the Ratlings, I think, are actually going to fire at the Chaos Marines. Now, they could fire probably at the Sorcerer. I haven't measured the line of sight, but they probably could shoot the Sorcerer, and they probably could shoot the Exalted Champion hiding behind this building here. However, after having taken a whole bunch of bolt gun shots in the face from a load of Chaos Marines that are right down there, it would require an incredible level of discipline, I feel, for the Ratlings to ignore this threat right in front of them that is about to kill them, and instead focus on shooting a bloke halfway across the battlefield. These guys are only leadership 5 after all, bless them. So what they're actually going to do is I'm not going to say panic, but they are going to shift their fire left and try and take out the immediate threat to their own lives, which is those Chaos Marines. And, they don't actually have a Voxcaster for the Lieutenant to yell at them to do what he says. So, those Ratlings are going to shoot at those Chaos Marines. Alright, the Ratlings have done quite well. They got 1 headshot on a 6, that's 1 mortal wound and 1 Chaos Marine instantly killed. And then they got 2 regular wounds, so these are 2 3+ armor saves on the Chaos Marines. They failed 1. Okay, so the Ratlings took out 2 Chaos Marines. Well done, them. I suppose now would be a good time to point out that as of the date of filming this, the 9th edition Chaos Codex hasn't come out yet, so even though Loyalist Space Marines all have 2 wounds now, minimum, Chaos Marines don't. They still are on 1 wound. I could, in theory, have given them all 2 wounds as a bit of a house rule, and then upped the point cost of them appropriately, but that would require me to go looking through 2 different codexes and adding up points differences, and that's too much work, sorry. So, if I was doing Loyalist Space Marines versus Chaos in a battle, say if I was using the Revenants instead of the Cadians today, I might have actually bothered, because it would really irritate me if the Chaos Marines had 1 wound and the Loyalists had 2. But since that's not an issue today, we're just gonna do them rules as written with only 1 wound each. So that is 2 Chaos Marines dead. Onto the tank now. It's going to split its fire. The turret is going to fire that autocannon at that Rhino, and the heavy bolter on the hull is going to fire a few shots back at the Chaos Marines who just put 2 ruddy great smoking holes in the front of the tank. So, right, I should add to what I just said by saying that I'm actually going to, because this, I've just checked, and there's Limb and Rust, because it's only got 3 wounds left, it's now on hitting on ballistic skill 6+, which is a bit grim. So I'm going to backtrack slightly, because I think you probably have to do this in the movement phase, but I'm going to spend 1 command point for the Imperial Guard on jury rigging, which basically means the tank crew getting out the toolbox and trying to fix up the damage as best they can, which means the tank will regain a wound this turn, bring it back up to 4 wounds, which is still virtually nothing, but it will allow it to hit on 5+ instead of 6+. So, Heavy Bolter. 1 hit. Was a 6 anyway. Will it wound on a 3+? Yes, it does. AP -1, so a 4-up save on one of those Marines, which they do actually pass. Bad luck. Now, it's going to be the big autocannon shooting at the Rhino. 5s to hit. Ooh, that's 2 hits, and reroll that 1 because it's a Cadian tank that stayed still. Cadian tankers are trained to fire more shots rather than more accurate shots. Quantity has a quality all of its own, don't you know? I think it might have been Creed that said that once. It was certainly a chubby bloke in a uniform anyway. Right. These will wound on 4+. Strength 7 versus Donor 7. We get 1 wound. AP -2, so 5-up save on the Rhino, which it does actually make as well. I know, bad luck for the tankers. Well, it might be bad luck for the tankers, but slightly better luck for these guys down here. The command squad around the lieutenant opened fire. The plasma gunner missed, which wasn't a great start. But then the medic and the Voxcaster, both with their las guns, opened fire, and between the pair of them, dead-eye shots that they are, being veterans, they managed to bring down one of the 2 remaining plague bearers. So there's only 1 left, the champion. That's not bad, is it? Well done, chaps. There's a reason they're in the command squad. Alright, we then closed out the shooting phase with this squad over here, who don't have any orders and who did move this turn, so no rerolls or any shenanigans like that. A couple of them at the front were able to see around the corner at that missile launcher Chaos Marine. So the plasma gun opened fire, hit, wounded, and the Chaos Marines made a 6+ armor save from that -3 plasma shot. I guess the plasma shot just shot one of the horns off their helmets or something like that, which they frankly probably deserve for wearing stupid helmets with horns on, but regardless, it didn't kill one of them. Another las gunner opened fire on the Marines and failed to wound. The rest of them shot across here at extreme range at this Plague Champion here. I don't think he's actually called a Plague Champion, he's got some other name, but I'm calling him a Plague Champion. And all of them failed to wound except 1, and then the Plague Bearer passed his demonic save, so yeah, no luck there. That's a long way of saying nothing happened, I suppose. Right. Charge phase. No charges. I mean, I was about to say maybe they could fix bayonets and charge that Plague Bearer, but actually no, they can't, because they did move this turn. Which means they can't shoot either, by the way, in case you didn't know. If you do move, you move in the shooting phase instead of shooting. So, if I'd had the presence of mind to remember that if you do forwards for the Emperor instead, they can advance in the movement phase and still shoot as if they hadn't, that might have been better. But also that would have been a random dice roll, so Anyway, getting onto another tangent, aren't I? Long story short, basically the turn's over. There is a morale phase to do though. 2 Chaos Marines over there were lost. 6, 7, 8, even with a 6, they are still fine, although they're word bearers, so they can re-roll it just for the giggles into another 6. Oh boy. Okay. And the Plague Bearers, well, the Plague Bearer, I suppose, singular now. He lost 5 guys this turn, so 5, 10, yeah, he's going to squelch back into the warp. A pool of nurgly slime will open in the ground and he'll sink down into it into a puddle like the witch in The Wizard of Oz. Something like that, anyway. Where is my brain going sometimes when I say these things? I don't know. Right, let's go back over to Heretic Dave. It's the end of Heretic Dave's movement phase. Excuse me. Clearing my throat, just ate my dinner, so there was a bit of a break between the last clip and this one. Anyway, so, So, what has happened? These Chaos Marines have been ordered towards the middle. They have fallen back round here to put this big generator between them and, most of this stuff over here. Although, the las cannon and the missile launcher can just about get a bead on that tank in the hopes of maybe finishing it off. Meanwhile, Lachesis has moved up with a bunch of cultist bodyguards into the opening between these two walls here, leaving this objective behind, because the word bearers are in the lead at the moment. However, it won't stay that way if the Cadians are able to secure the middle, which at the moment they are. Now, this means that this squad of Cadians needs to be eliminated at the earliest possible opportunity. So, these cultists and Lachesis have come around here to get some shots into those Cadians. Now, meanwhile, the Rhino has charged right up the gut here, and the Exalted Champion, whose name I believe is Donick, because he was in the narrative video I did for these guys ages ago. He's Exalted Champion Donick, which is not a very Exalted Champion-y sort of name. I suppose he is Donick the Engine Slayer, though, because he did kill that knight. So anyway, the Engine Slayer, he has dashed out from behind this building and into the Rhino as it's moved up here through the side door, because Donick, well, he has a cunning plan. He has a very cunning plan. We'll see if it works out. It will be happening next turn, though. Also, the other squad of cultists, the traitor guardsmen, really, they've rushed up this way behind this barricade because they can now get some shots into these Cadians as well. Basically, Operation Kill the Cadians in the middle so that we control that centre objective again at the end of this battle round, which will put the word bearers way into the lead on points, which will be pretty good. So we are sacrificing this back objective to potentially get it done, however, but no risk, no glory for the Chaos God. No, from the Chaos Gods, really. No risk, no reward when you're a Chaos Space Marine. So, Psychic Phase. I did remember it this time. Psychic Phase. First things first. Lachesis is going to cast Prescience on these Chaos Marines again to help the heavy weapon gunners out and to ensure those bolt guns are hitting on 2 pluses. So it will require a 7. That is an 8. That will certainly do. Actually, no, it's a 9. What am I talking about? I can't count. Anyway, that was a 9, so that is cast. These guys now have +1 to hit. And he's also now going to fire a few purple lightning bolts out of his fingers at those Cadians over there. In other words, he's going to do a smite. He could have done a warp time, potentially. Could have done warp time on maybe these cultists that are with him right now. However, he could just smite these guys with some purple lightning bolts and kill D3 of them. So he's actually getting +1 to his psychic rolls from that mad evil book of his I almost forgot. So actually that Prescience is casting on a 6 and smiting is casting on a 4 for him right now. And he'll be super smiting on a 10. So, yeah, let's do it. Let's do a smite. That's a bit more Lachesis' style anyway. Shoot some lightning bolts at those puny loyalist dogs. 5, 6, 7, 8, which becomes a 9 with his Malefic Tome, which is not a super smite, but it is a regular smite, so D3 mortal wounds on those troopers. 2. Okay, so 2 troopers are immediately just killed. Their heads explode on the spot. Lovely jubbly. Right. Is there a way to get him to cast a 3rd power? There isn't, I don't think. Not unless he was a Tzeentch sorcerer, and he's not. Lachesis is Chaos Undivided, being a word bearer, so he could invoke the Chaos Gods, though, to become a Tzeentch sorcerer and then do the stratagem to fire off another power, because then he could do warp time on the cultists to make them move up here a bit to be in rapid fire range of those Cadians, maybe? Ooh, let me think about that. Alright, I've looked at the details and I've made a decision. We are going to do that. We will spend a single command. Actually, no, I can't do it. All of that thinking, and I've just realised you can't do it, because The Great Sorcerer. No, sorry, yeah. The Great Sorcerer is the stratagem that allows you to... Oh, no, I could still do it. I believe. Right, because the Great Sorcerer is the Tzeentch stratagem. If you've got a Tzeentch Sorcerer, at the end of the Psychic phase, you can play that stratagem and you can cast another power. I got it mixed around. I thought that the other one, Beseech the Chaos Gods, you did at the end of the Psychic phase. But that's not the case, because if it was that way around, I wouldn't be able to do this. But I can. So, for one command point, we'll do Beseech the Chaos Gods. Lachesis will reach up to the heavens and beseech Tzeentch. That was quite difficult to say, actually, oddly enough. Anyway, he's going to beseech Tzeentch, the god of fate. And he will temporarily, for the rest of the battle, therefore gain the Tzeentch keyword. Which means that he can then, now it's the end of the Psychic phase, to use the Great Sorcerer stratagem, which will allow him to cast an extra Psychic power. And that Psychic power is going to be Warp Time, as I said. So, Warp Time on these cultists, because I believe they are considered a Heretic Astartes unit, even though they're cultists. I can't be asked to check that now, frankly. It'll take another 5 minutes. So, here we go. This will cast on, I believe, a 5 with his fancy book. Ah, isn't that interesting? Interesting. Yeah, that's Tzeentch for you, isn't it? I suppose. Don't bargain with the Chaos Gods, kids. It never ends well. Right, he's had a couple of command points for basically no reason now. Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, then. Actually, you know what? I can spend another command point to make that happen. There is a Word Bearer stratagem, which I think it's 1 command point, and basically you take a mortal wound and the psychic power immediately, automatically passes. It will cost 1 command point, though. They've currently got 2 left, the Word Bearers. I think I'll do it. Yeah, God, really keen on getting the psychic power up, eh? Better be worth it. Alright, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to spend a command point on whatever the bloody stratagem is called. I'm not going to look it up now. But he will take a wound. So, where's my damn wound dice? Wherever I put it. Professional content right here. 4 wounds left on the sorcerer. There we go. And that psychic power will now considered to have been passed, even though he failed it on the roll. Which means we cast Warp Time on the cultists, and now they get to move as if it were the movement phase. So, that means with the squiggly wiggly powers of the warp, these cultists have now moved across that barricade. 4 inches, because the barricade reduces their movement by 2 inches. But crucially, they are now close enough to those troopers over there that they can rapid fire with their autoguns, and perhaps more importantly, the Flamer is now in range to lay down some Promethium, some burning hot Promethium on those very unfortunate troopers, because they need to die. The Chaos Gods have deemed these unworthy creatures be destroyed at the highest priority, so that we can secure the centre ground of this battlefield. So, an eventful psychic phase, admittedly. Let's go into the shooting phase, and I can tell you immediately what I'm going to do. What I'm immediately going to do is go to these Chaos Space Marines, and they're going to open fire with the las cannon at that tank over there. The missile launcher... Ooh, actually, do I want to do these guys first? No, I don't think I do. I think I'll go with some of the other stuff first, because I don't know where I want to put the missile launcher yet. I could put it at the tank, but I could also fire a frag missile at these guys. So I don't know. Can't decide. So I think I'll go somewhere else first. I think we'll go with these cultists first. How about that? But I do intend, in case I forget to mention it later, to spend the last command point the Word Bearers currently have on Veterans of the Long War on these guys again. So they have +1 to hit and +1 to wound thanks to Prescience and Veterans of the Long War. So that should be lovely. Right then. These cultists. Well, the cultist shooting was not terribly good, and to add insult to injury, the Flamer rolled a 1 on the number of auto hits. Fine work, gentlemen, fine work. Between them and these cultists who also single-shotted, not rapid fire, but fired a single shot each, down that alleyway into the troopers as well. Between them, we've killed another couple of Cadian troopers. This is a little bit underwhelming, it has to be said. So that leaves us with the Rhino and the Chaos Marines. The Kesis' bolt pistol is not long enough range to actually shoot these guys, so my plan with the Rhino in an ideal world was to shoot both the Stormbolter and the Havoc Launcher at the missile teams at the back there. I might now consider changing targets. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap over to these guys. Now, I should mention, by the way, that Cadian Dave spent a command point on take cover for this squad of troopers, so they have +1 to their saves at the moment. So, yes, that's very much a thing. Right, so, and interestingly enough, I think they'll probably get a cover save from these guys shooting at them, because they're now on the other side of a barricade, because the ones that were on top of it, on the other side of it, have now been removed as casualties. So I think that's a cover save. I mean, I have to reread the core rules to be totally sure, but I'm looking at that and I'm saying, yeah, they'll get a cover save from that, because there's a really great big pipe between them and the Chaos Marines, and I think that's fair enough, narratively speaking. So there we go. Right, I'm going to give them a cover save for that. So I have +2 to their saves, that squad of very stubborn Cadians. So let's get on with it. This squad of Chaos Marines with veterans of the Long War, which brings the Chaos down to 1 command point, and the Cadians are actually on 0 command points now because they use take cover. So yeah, all of the bolt guns at those Cadians. I think I'll chuck the frag missile in there as well, and the las cannon will shoot the tank. Let's do the las cannon first, shall we? A 1. You could have rolled anything else. It was 2, well, no, actually it was 3+ to hit for the las cannon. Okay. Alright, the las cannon is completely missed. So, now to do the frag missile and the bolters. Well, folks, between the frag missile and all the bolt guns from these Chaos Marines, the Guardsmen have been mown down. Only the Voxcaster stood right next to the central objective there, remaining standing as the rest of his squad is cut to ribbons by exploding bolt shells. He will, I believe, be legging it in the morale phase. There's no role he could possibly make that it would involve him not doing it. And Cadian Dave doesn't have enough command points to make him auto pass morale, because you need 2 command points to do that, and currently he's got 0. So, and he'll generate 1 at the start of his next turn because of the Battle Force bonus, but that's still not enough. So besides, it would be this turn we do the morale test, not next turn, so I'm talking out my arse anyway. But yeah, can you really blame him though for running away? Good grief. Anyway, the long and short of it is that we killed an awful lot of Cadians in that squad, in spite of the massive epic failure from the las cannon there. Yeah, well, I'll be having some strong words with you later, chum. Anyway, luckily for us, that tank over there is not... I think it's hitting on 5 still, isn't it, at the moment, because of the jury rigging we did last turn. But still, it's not its usual ballistic skill. It's damaged. Anyway, this now means the Rhino is free to fire at whatever I really fancy, and what I fancy is firing my Rhino, Combi Bolter and Havoc Launcher at those missile teams over there. So, might as well do this on camera, I guess. 2 shots from the Combi Bolter at this range. 1 hit. 1 wound. 5+ save. Nope, so one of the teams loses a wound because they have 2 wounds each. Then the Havoc Launcher, blast weapon, but there's only 3 models in that squad technically, so 4 shots. Oh, really? Only 1 hit. And that doesn't wound. Wow. Oh dear. Oh dear. There's something wrong with this Havoc Launcher today. I think we should probably get the Warpsmith to have a look at that, because it's clearly malfunctioning a bit. That's the second time it's whiffed. I don't know what to make of that. Well, anyway. Okay. Alright. Well, that's the shooting concluded. Double checking, actually, looking at it, scanning around right now. Is there anything else? No, that is everything. That brings us to the charge phase, and actually, funnily enough, we are going to do a charge. This Rhino is going to charge this lone Voxcaster. I really need to clear away these dead dudes. Come on, get out there. Get out there. There we go. Rhino's going to charge this Voxcaster, by which I mean it's going to drive past him and try and catch him on one of the spiky bits. You'll see what I mean in a second, but first, let's roll the charge. 4 inches. I could have done with better than that, but it will certainly do. You have to pay a command point to Overwatch. Excuse me, my dinner is fighting back today. You have to pay a command point to Overwatch in 9th edition, and for the sake of one Lasgun on a radio operator, SorcererDave is not going to spend a command point, and even if he was going to, he can't because he doesn't have any left. I've just remembered again. Alright, that's what it looks like after the charge move is done. Now, this is a bit jammy, but also I think it can work narratively. You see, what's happening here really is the Rhino, and honestly I could pivot it like that, and it would actually be more appropriate. There we go. What the Rhino's really doing is it's just barreling right up the side here. As it went past here, Donick ran up, jumped in through the side door, and it carries on going. And it's fired its weapons downrange at those guys, and it's just carrying on driving, and basically using the charge move to get some extra movement there. While in the process trying to do a bit of a drive-by and smack and kill this last guardsman with some of the pointy hooks and stuff on the side of the thing. But essentially, it's the Rhino driving straight for those guardsmen over there and stopping for absolutely nothing in the process. So, the Rhino, I had to look this up because it's not often you do close combat with a Rhino, honestly. But it does have 3 attacks. And technically, it does benefit from the Shock Assault rule, so it does have 4 attacks in this instance. They hit on 6s, 1 hit, it'll wound on a 2, it wounds, and no AP, so 5 up flak armor save for that box operator, which he doesn't make, and so he is squished under the caterpillar tracks of the charging rhinoceros. I wouldn't want to be these guys right about now, frankly. In fact, I would really not like to be this guy, but yeah, can you see what Donick's plan was? I told you he had a cunning plan. I think you might be starting to see where it's going. Okay, well, that's the fight phase done. That brings us to the morale phase, and there isn't really any morale to do because this whole squad's now been wiped out, so there we go, and crushed under the treads of the advancing tank. That was cool. I enjoyed that. That was fun. I mean, Katie and Dave didn't enjoy it, but Heretic Dave definitely enjoyed that. That was great. Alright, end of the Battleground now. And yes, the Word Bearers will score 2 points and the Cadians will score 1, which as you can see means the Word Bearers are currently sitting on 5 points to the Cadians' 2. The Emperor may protect, but he doesn't capture objectives for you. You have to do that yourself. Alright, let's head into Battle Round 3 as I switch back over to Katie and Dave and figure out what to do next. Okay, chaps. It's the end of the Imperial Guard movement phase, and this is what happened. These gentlemen, 3rd Squad, have stayed still. The missile launchers have stayed still. Remained stationary is the technical term from the cool rules, in fact. The Lieutenant, Bosco and his squad, Bosco or Bosco? What's his name? I need to make my mind up. Let's say Bosco, because I keep saying that one reflexively more often. Right. Bosco and his squad have moved forward because they have a choice right now. They've got a Rhino barreling towards them, and I turned Donick around so he was facing towards the camera, and I have to admit, sat from this angle, part of me just wants to believe that actually instead of being inside the Rhino, he is stood on top of it exactly like that, screaming, "Drive me closer so I can hit them with my hammer." But anyway, so they got that bearing down on them. And the Lieutenant has summoned up all his courage, advanced forward, and ordered his men to open fire. He's told these guys, load crack missiles and open fire on that monstrosity. He's raised his own plasma pistol, and his squad, with the plasma gun and a melter gun, more importantly, are going to try and bring that thing down before it squishes them all on those pointy spikes on the front, which I really wish actually did something in the rules, but they don't. In 3rd edition, you used to be able to strap like spikes and saw blades onto the front of a corn rhino and it would actually do stuff. It was really cool. But anyway, oh man, if they brought that back in the 9th edition codex, wouldn't that be cool? They won't, but it would be cool. Anyway, distracted again. First squad have jumped over this barricade, mostly so that they can lay a whole bunch of shots into those Chaos Marines over there, because they've been causing some issues, those Chaos Space Marines. Chaos Space Marines causing issues. You'd never have said that in 8th edition. Anyway, the Rattlings have remained stationary. They can't actually see these Chaos Marines at the moment. They can't get a good shot on them at all. I leaned down over there to have a look, and they really can't see those Chaos Space Marines at all. So they're going to basically load all their sniper rounds into the Sorcerer again, try and take him out. He's on 4 wounds now because he did injure himself with his psychic shenanigans in his turn, so maybe they can take him out and turn the tide of the battle by removing the enemy warlord. We shall see. The tank as well has crawled forwards a couple of inches just to be able to give it some shooting options so it can fire at the Rhino or possibly those Chaos Marines, depending on how the cookie crumbles in the shooting phase. Speaking of which, let's get on with it. The lieutenant bellows into the Vox mouthpiece, ordering first squad to first rank fire, second rank fire, rapid fire at those Chaos Space Marines on our left flank, and they have done so. The plasma gun failed to wound. He got 1 hit and failed to wound. Glorious. However, check out the wound roll for the las gunners. They're on 5s and 6s. They didn't do too badly. So these are all 3-up saves for the Chaos Space Marines. They have made all but 2. So 2 of the foul heretic Astartes are felled under an absolutely withering volley of lasgun fire from first squad. Well done, chaps. You've made Cadia proud. The lieutenant's second order is over his shoulder to the missile teams behind him, ordering them to take aim. Name for the weak spots on this Rhino in front of them. And that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to fire 3 crack missiles, and we're using our only command point to use concentrated fire one more time to add +1 to hit and +1 to wound. Re-rolling all failed hit rolls as well, because we're Cadians and we've been told to take aim. We don't muck about when we've been told to take aim. So 3 crack missiles, hitting on 3s, re-rolling. Re-rolling that 1. 3 hits. These are strength 8. The Rhino is toughness 7. These will wound on 2s, therefore, thanks to concentrated fire. All 3 wound. The stratagem need not have actually been used, really. So, these are all -2 AP, so 3 5-up saves on the Rhino. It makes none of them. D6 damage each. 10, 16 wounds. That Rhino is toast. Does it explode? It does not. What happens to Donick inside? Remember, on a 1, he will be slain as he exits the vehicle. And I'm not using command point rerolls. In fact, I think in 9th edition you can't use command point rerolls for that kind of roll, can you? You can only use them for specific things nowadays, and I can never be... Part of the reason I'm not using command point rerolls is, 1, because I want the dice to tell the story, obviously, but 2, because I can't be asked to remember all the things you are and are not allowed to use CP rerolls on. That's the truth. Anyway, does Donick survive the wreckage? He does. So he's going to claw his way out of that wrecked Rhino, or perhaps if he was riding on the top of it, he deftly leaps off the front, disembarking within 3 inches of the thing, as it is destroyed behind him. Excellent. While we're on the subject of ranting about random things, I really kind of wish wrecked vehicles stayed on the battlefield instead of being completely removed. That bothers me a little bit, but never mind. 1 Rhino down. However, they do have a rather angry Donick in their faces, but he is quite potentially right now facing a firing squad. So yeah, Now, we won't be able to do first rank fire, second rank fire with these guys because Donik's already used his 2 orders for this turn. But while there is a stratagem to actually allow him to do an extra order this turn, that would require command points to do it, and the Acadians have run a little bit short of those now. So, well, never mind. We're going to just have to take him down the old-fashioned way, and we do have a melter gun right there. And let's just go ahead and say the Acadian 404 have a bit of a reputation when it comes to their melter gunners and enemy characters. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that right now. I'll roll the last guns and all that sort of crap off camera, but melter gun. Are we about to witness the birth of yet another hero melter gunner? Let's see. I'm going to fire it directly at the Exalted Champion. And miss. Unbelievable! Oh dear, I hyped it up too much, clearly. Well, there's also a plasma gunner. And I think he's going to bellow for the Emperor and overcharge it. 2 shots. And it does in fact explode in his face, except, will it? No, they did move this turn. He can't re-roll that one. His plasma gun explodes in his face. The other shot hits, though. It does wound. Donik has a 6-up save on his armour, and he fails it. He takes 2 damage. That leaves him with 2 wounds remaining. He is alive, unlike this plasma gunner. He has martyred himself for the God Emperor. He shall be remembered. By some of us, at least. Right. That's not good. The melt gunner missed, and the plasma gunner's killed himself. Still, Donik's only got 2 wounds left, so got a couple of las guns in the command squad still. Let's not forget those. Oh dear. 1 hits. 1 shot hits. And it doesn't wound either. This man killed an Imperial Knight, you know. Beginning to see why. Alright. This squad. Let's see. I'll come back to you with the saves. Actually, this squad does have a flamer, so let's do that first. D6 auto hits. For 6! Oh boy! Oh boy! Better fuel than the bloody cultist flamers, I'll say that much. Wounding on 4s. That is 2 wounds. 2 3-up saves. Oh, he fails both! He's dead! He's had it! That's his last 2 wounds. The Exalted Champion falls, probably only to be resurrected once again by the Chaos Gods. Like he was before, but for now, he's had it. Executed by firing squad. Indeed, literally. With actual fire, as it turned out. Anyway, is that all the shooting? No, it's not all the shooting, actually. We've still got the Rattlings and the tank, haven't we? Alright, let's quickly do the Rattlings. There is 6 of them remain. Is there? No. Yes, there's 6. I can't count. They're right in front of me and I can't count, apparently. This is a window into my brain, folks. I cannot do numbers. Okay, 6 shots from the Rattlings targeting that sorcerer over there. Can we take out both of the Chaos characters in a single turn? Let's find out. 3s to hit. All but 1 of them hit. 4s to wound. 2 wounds. No mortal wounds, sadly. 2 saves on the sorcerer. He makes them both. Lachesis will not be brought down quite so easily, it seems. That leaves us now with the tank, with its heavy bolter and its autocannons, which will be firing at these Chaos Marines because the Rhino and the Exalted Champion have both been dealt with. Let me remove him. There we go. Right. Let's do the heavy bolters. That is 1 hit that doesn't wound. And then with grinding advance, we will fire the autocannons twice, hitting on 5s because we're quite badly damaged. That's 3 hits. No re-rolling because we did move as well. That is also, we've knocked down a tree too. 2 wounds, -1, 4-up saves on the Marines. They fail both. That is another 2 dead Chaos Marines to add to the 2 we killed earlier. Excellent work, everybody. Well, after that carnage, we go to the morale phase, because there's not going to be any charges, let me tell you. Yes, indeed. Right. So, there is a morale test to take on these Chaos Marines. I lost 4 guys this turn. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They are actually okay because of the Icon of Vengeance, giving them leadership 9. So they're fine. And that's it, isn't it? Because the Rhino's dead, the Exalted Champion is dead. I don't think anyone else took any casualties. Nope. Okay then, so back over to Heretic Dave to see how he's going to deal with that little conundrum. Donik's cunning plan wasn't actually that cunning, as it turned out in the end, so that's a bit of a bust. But I suppose what the Wordbearers do have going for them is that, they are actually still in the lead on points. So, Wordbearers, turn 3. Well, the movement phase for the Wordbearers is done in their turn 3, and it could all really be summarised, I suppose, as forwards for the Dark Gods, because that's exactly what everyone's done. They run forward. These cultists and Lachesis have moved forth to secure the centre once again. Incidentally, in the command phase, he did regenerate. Well, we got regenerated another command point, so we're back up to 2 command points for the Wordbearers now. But he also did regenerate that lost wound again, so he's back up to full wounds again. That is a really good warlord trait. Meanwhile, these Chaos Marines have emerged from around the corner of this power generator thing. They're going to loose a couple of shots into this tank to try and finally kill it. Loose a few bolt rounds into those troop guardsmen in front of them, and then they're going to charge them in the charge phase, I think is the plan. And right now, the Imperial Guard don't have any command points to overwatch with. So there's nothing those guardsmen can do. The Chaos Marines will just take them entirely by surprise, I suppose. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about Overwatch requiring a command point now, honestly. But I tell you what I don't have mixed feelings about. These cultists / traitor guardsmen have completed their mission to flank around the side of the bunker facility, and they are now lined up behind a barricade here, flanking all of these guys over here. And what I particularly like about this is that I like the barricade / obstacle rules in 9th edition, because it encourages you to do real life tactics like trying to get around the side of the enemy and flank them so you can take them out from an advantageous position like this, because these guys now have cover from the barricade that they're behind, and they're now flanking these guys who won't receive the benefit of cover because we can draw like a line to one of their bases or whatever the garbled legal text for this rule is, but you know what I mean. It actually encourages you to do flanking maneuvers and take enemies out from behind or the sides. I think it's fantastic. This is something that just didn't exist in 8th edition, and now it does. So well done, GW. That's great. I love that. And yes, I'll give you a guess as to who they're probably going to be shooting, especially since the flamethrower is now in range as well. Hopefully they've actually loaded a fresh tank of Promethium, unlike the cultists over there. Anyway, let's crack on with the psychic phase, shall we? So we're going to begin the psychic phase here by once again casting Prescience on these Chaos Marines over here. The 4 of them that are left. So this will be on a 6 thanks to his magic book. That does indeed go off. These guys now have +1 to hit. And for his second trick, he's going to shoot some more bolts of lightning at them over there, because they are slightly closer than them over there. I've just measured it up. So they will be getting hit by the magic smite bolts of Doom. I'd like to say Doom Bolt, but Doom Bolt is actually a completely separate power that Thousand Suns get, and it's nothing to do with smite. So anyway, casting on a 4 because of his magic book. That is a 10. +1 from the magic book makes it 11, which makes it a super smite, I believe, unless it has to be like a natural roll of an 11+, but I don't think so. So that is actually a super smite on those guardsmen cowering behind that barricade over there. Ooh, D6 mortal wounds for 2. Alright, that's still 2 dead guardsmen, but yeah, you could have expected better from that, really. Never mind. Alright. We have 2 command points to play with, so I'm going to spend one of them this time on the Great Sorcerer again, and hopefully, it'll actually work this time. So, what I'm going to do is warp time the cultist. Actually, am I? Am I going to do that? If I warp time the cultists ahead, yes, they'll be closer and able to do a bit more damage. But also it'll leave Lachesis just stood outside in the open without anybody to guard him per the lookout sir rule. So pretty much anybody could shoot him at that point. Aside from just the rattlings. Is he willing to give up his bodyguards, his meat shields, in order to kill a few more Cadians? I don't think he is, you know. But I don't think I am going to do a warp time on them. I could, but I'm not going to. Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. I wish I had another... Oh, well, hang on a minute. If I use both my last command points, I could use Chaos Familiar to swap out one of his powers, like Malefic Strength, for a different power that maybe does some damage. But that would be both my command points gone, and I want to use Veterans on the Long War on these guys, so forget it. All right, that'll be it. In fact, I won't need to spend a command point on the Great Sorcerer, because I'm not going to do another power. So there you go. Psychic phase over. Shooting phase now, I think. And yeah, Veterans of the Long War for 1 command point on these Chaos Marines. The last cannon and the missile launcher will be firing at the tank, and the other 2 will be firing at the champion, and this guy with the banner will be firing their bolt guns at the guardsmen in front of them. Last cannon, will it hit this time? Yes. Will it wound on a 2+? Yes. Will the tank save it on a 6+? No. D6 damage. That is 4 damage. That is exactly how many wounds the Leman Russ had left. Does it explode? Not quite. Almost, but not quite. Okay. Well, the missile launcher shot is wasted then, because it was going to fire a crack missile at the tank, which means the 2 remaining gentlemen with their bolt guns will be hitting on 2s. Class. Look at that. 2 1s. Wounding on 2s. 1 wound. Is it saved on a 4+? Yes, it is. Right, so the bolt guns failed miserably, but the tank's dead. What I now realise I should have said was that Creed may live, but this tank certainly does not. Pretend I said that a minute ago when it would have actually been good. Anyway, these cultists are not quite in rapid fire range, so they'll only be firing 1 shot each from their auto guns, and also the flamer won't be firing because it's out of range at those guys over there. So yeah. Rat-a-tat-tat go the auto guns, hitting on 4s because we're just puny cultists. Wounding on 4s, 3 wounds and 3 4-up saves for the Cadians behind their cover. They fail 1, so another trooper is cut down by the heretics. And now these guys over here. Right, so as previously mentioned, these Crimson Legionnaires here, who today counted cultists. It's a bit denigrating, really, that, isn't it? It's a bit undignified having a count as a cultist when you're much better than a cultist. But you have to do what you have to do, I suppose. As previously mentioned, they have succeeded in their flanking mission so far, and what's actually going to happen is the flamethrower is going to open up right down this line here into this squad of dudes. They're called Imperial Guardsmen, Dave. They're not called dudes. Into these Imperial Guardsmen. The rest of them are going to fire single shots with their auto guns, well, las guns really for them, but whatever, same stats, into the heavy weapons teams, into the rocket teams, missile teams, they're called missile teams, to try and kill a lot off, probably not all of them, but maybe 1 or 2. One of them's on 1 wound after all, because their frag missiles are nasty, and we'd like them dealt with. So, splitting fire, it always works, right? Let's start off with the flamer. D6 auto hits. 3. Could have been better, but let me reach over to grab some dice and drop one of them on the way across. Good, there we go. Okay, this will wound on 3s. 2 wounds. 2 5-up saves, no cover from this angle, so 1 is failed. Only one of these guys is engulfed in burning promethium, but he is engulfed in it regardless. As for the rest of them, they're going to now fire off their las guns at these guys. 9 shots. We only miss 3 times. Oh, 4 times. There we go. Winning on 4s is the tricky bit, admittedly, but they did quite well. Alright, that's 4 saves on the heavy weapons squad. They fail every single one of them, so you're dead. You're dead. You have a single wound remaining. I believe, if I've done the maths correctly. Yes, I have. Okay, good. Crimson Legionnaires, man. I know they're traitor scumbags and they're evil and awful, but they're kind of cool. I mean, I'm not just saying that because I made them up myself, but Games Workshop, can you please release Traitor Guard as a faction again? That'd be really fun. I'd really like that. You've even done some of the models already, guys. Come on, I want to play Traitor Guard. Anyway, I have a battle report I'm supposed to be doing, don't I? Yes. Right, about that. What's next? What's next is the charge phase. And there is a charge being made. These guys, they've rolled a 6. That is more than enough to get into these unfortunate guardsmen who cannot overwatch. So there we go. They go in there. Now, here's the interesting bit. You think 4 Chaos Marines against some guardsmen. That's going to be a fight that lasts a while, right? Well, perhaps in 8th edition it would have. Early in 8th edition. And the charge has fallen out of the slot again. Sorry, that probably made a noise. However, a few interesting things to note here. One of them is Shock Assault is a thing. So each of these Marines has an extra attack. I just dropped a dice. Sorry about that. The champion, therefore, has 3 attacks with his Power Fist. The rest of them have got 2 attacks. And furthermore to that, they still have prescience on them, which means they'll get +1 hit in close combat. So they're all hitting on 2s, and the champion's hitting on 3s with the Power Fist. Furthermore to that, we've got 1 command point left. So Heretic Dave is going to use his final command point on Veterans of the Long War again, because it's a different phase, and I can do that, to basically get +1 to wound in close combat. So we'll be wounding these poor little guardsmen on 2s, with even just our regular knives and fists and kicks to the face with our boots. So yeah, interesting. So there you go. Well, let's do the champion first with his Power Fist, hitting on 3s. Yeah, you're getting turned into a chaos spawn after this battle's over, chum. You have failed me for the last time. Okay, the rest of them now, hitting on 2s. Oh, look at that, not a single 2 rolled and everything was 3+. Alright, and wounding on 2s, because of Veterans of the Long War, and only 1 fails. So, that is 5 flak armor saves to make for the Cadian troopers. They make 2, and they fail 3. So 3 troopers are killed. I was really hoping for something more in the region of like 6 or 7 troopers, but then the champion did what he just did. I'm not even going to talk about it. Well, there comes a time in every guardsman's life when sometimes the only thing you've got left to do is to fix bayonets. And that's what these chaps are going to be doing. So, the sergeant will get 3 attacks with his chainsword. The rest of them get 1 attack each. They will hit on 4+. 4 hits, perfectly statistically average and all that. They need to wound on 5s though. 1 wound. Did they make the save? No. One of the heretic Astartes is brought down by a lucky bayonet. I like to think right through the eye lens of one of the helmets and into the brain. Which one will it be? That's an interesting question, because you know what? You little git. Yeah, gotta kill the champion. He's earned it, frankly. I like to think that champion stood up with his power fist, stepped forth, and one of these plucky little Cadians, channeling the spirit of Saint Olanius Pius himself, stepped forth, dodged every single swing of the power fist, and rammed that bayonet as hard as he could right into the eye slit of that champion's helmet. Straight up into his brain, instantly killed. That's what I choose to believe, anyway. So, okay. That brings us to the morale phase. They did lose one guy, although frankly, I feel like they ought to rejoice after that. 5, 6, they're fine. I do have a horrible sinking feeling that I might have forgotten to do a morale test for these guys in the previous turn. But, well, it's done now. Just, I don't know, I feel like I forgot something somewhere there. But anyway, never mind. Alright, that's the end of the Chaos turn. Mixed bag, really. Did some good stuff. Oh, there is a morale test for these guys. Almost forgot, bloody hellfire. There is 5 of them left. They lost 4 guys this turn. The leadership 7, so 5... 6, 7, 8, yeah. So they failed the test. One of these runs away. We'll move you because your paint job's a bit dodgy and needs to be done up again. And an attrition test for the remaining 4. And they'll run away. Drop the dice. And they'll run away on 1s and 2s actually because they're below half strength now. So one more decides he's had enough of this and runs to leg it. Probably be you, I suppose, because that's the Flamer and that's the Foxcaster. Right, so one more guardsman from that squad. Runs for the hills. Lucky for him, there isn't a commissar around right now to shoot him in the back of the head on his way out. But hey, there you go. A couple of them have decided, right, nobody's looking. Let's get out of here, Jim. And off they went. So, right, is that actually all of them around? Test done now. Oh god. Random throat tickle. I don't know where that came from. I must have just breathed in something. Apologies, folks. Apparently I was choking on the foul stench of heresy because I've just totted up the scores and the word bearers are currently on 7 points to 3. They're running away with it a little bit right now. Yeah. Acadian's in a rough spot at the moment. There's a good turn for the heretics, that was, with some minor mishaps along the way. Yes, a good turn for the heretics. Are the Acadians totally screwed now? Is there a way out of this for them? Probably not on points. Possibly by simply killing all of the heretics. It's an interesting thing to think about. It could possibly be done. Like, if I just Zerg rush everything I could into the middle to try and secure the middle objective, we would end the next battle round on the word bearer still in the lead, 7 points to 6, and that would be going into the final turn that way. So even if we Zerg rush into the middle, we still wouldn't really get enough points to win the lead, and probably would all die in the process. So I'm not going to do that. Yeah, frankly, from a narrative perspective as well, I think it's really not a very great idea. Just everybody's rushing into the middle. We're not Tyranids. We're not even Chaos Cultists. So no, we're going to try and play a bit smarter than that. And I think right now, Lieutenant Bosca's primary concern is honestly going to be to secure his vulnerable right flank at the moment. So he'll be dealing with these gents over here. Dealing with those Chaos Space Marines. And if he can eliminate both of them, all the Chaos guys will have left is a gaggle of cultists and one very miffed sorcerer. And that would suddenly turn the tables quite a bit if they could pull it off. So, let's see if the Lieutenant can pull victory from the jaws of defeat, shall we? As we go into Cadian's turn 4. If ever there was a time to offer up some prayers to the God Emperor, it would be right now. This is what's happened. We're in the Cadian movement phase, or rather we're at the end of it. This squad has fallen back mostly, but not entirely, behind that barricade there, away from the heretic Astartes trying to stab them to death. Sensible move if you ask me. Meanwhile, these 3 remaining guardsmen from this squad, they have, in spite of the fact that Ted and Jim have run off, they've stood and held firm behind their defences here. The Lieutenant and the remains of his command squad have moved over this way to get within firing range of that squad over there. And this missile team, this lone missile team with one wound left, it's one dude. Like the loader's dead. It's one dude manning the missile launcher by himself, covered in blood, and he's pivoted slightly this way because he's going to fire a frag missile at them. That is the plan. That is the plan. Let's begin the shooting phase with orders. We have 2 orders the Lieutenant can issue. He's issuing one over the Vox to first squad over here. They're going to first rank fire, second rank fire. No, they're not. No, I tell a lie. They're not going to do that at all. They've now fallen out of combat, so he's going to order them instead to get back in the fight, you men. So get back in the fight is the order that allows you to fall back and still shoot again. So they'll be putting some shots into those Chaos Marines for sure. Meanwhile, over here, for his second order, well, what's it going to be? What is it going to be? What is the second order going to be? I've got 1 command point left. I think I know what I want to spend it on. But what is the second order going to be? Need to think. I've had to think. I think he's going to order his own command squad, the first rank fire, second rank fire, so that the medic and the Voxcaster can each get 4 shots with their las guns within rapid fire range, which they are currently. And I've just realised I have a medic. I've had a medic this entire time. I always forget to use him in every single battle. He's practically there just as a decoration. Maybe, for once, I should actually look up the rules, because he might be able to heal that plasma gunner from who nearly killed himself with plasma burns. Was it fatal? Or did he manage to actually bandage him up? Let's find out. Alright folks, I actually checked the rules for the Medipack, and yes, on a roll of 4+ at the end of the movement phase, technically, but hey, you have to forgive me, he can patch up the plasma burns on that other gentleman and get him back in the fight. So on a 4+, that's typical. That's the dice gods laughing at me right there. That'll teach me to forget. Alright, never mind. Yeah, never mind. Right, so let's get back to what we were doing, which was first rank fire, second rank firing this command squad. So it'll actually be 8 shots from those 2 guys. Magnificently. And they did move, so no re-rolling 1s, but they will be hitting on 3s because they are veterans. So, oh dear. Wounding on 4s. 3 wounds though. These guys will have a 5 up save because they're in cover. Cultists have a 6 up save normally. So unlike guardsmen, they don't have flak armor, they have t-shirts. 5 up saves. They make 1. 2 of these guys are killed. The melter gunner. That's a bit cocked. Let's do that again. Misses. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. The lieutenant himself with his plasma pistol. He won't overcharge, he's not stupid. And it's a good thing too. He misses. Now then, this missile team here. And I'm going to use my last command point on Vengeance for Cadia. Now Vengeance for Cadia is a very jammy stratagem. For 1 command point, you can reroll all failed hits and wound rolls for a unit, targeting another unit for that phase. And that is really, really broken when you use it on something like a big tank or a Baneblade or something. Or even just a full heavy weapon squad or something like that. I tend not to use it very often because it is extremely cheeky, that stratagem, and I suspect it will be removed in the upcoming 9th edition Astra Militarum Codex. It'll either be removed or they'll increase the points cost of it to like 2 CP or 3 CP or something, because it is a bit outrageous against Chaos players when you do that. So I tend to avoid using it, because someone probably has already typed in the comments of this thing, why are you using Vengeance for Cadia? This is why, because I think it's a little too jammy. So what I do like to do though sometimes is save it for dramatic moments like this when it really matters. So I'll be using Vengeance for Cadia for 1 command point on that missile team. So they will be shooting a frag missile at those undesirables over there, and they'll be re-rolling all their failed hits and wounds. Seems good to me. Alternatively, I could do concentrated fire again, but I don't know the maths. I think possibly Vengeance for Cadia would be better in this scenario, but we'll see. D6 shots from the frag missile. 1. It is a blast weapon though. And, but we just killed 2 of those guys, so they're no longer a 10-man unit. Oh dear, that was a bit of a mistake, wasn't it? I shouldn't have done it that way around. Oh well, lesson learned. 1 shot. Hits on a 4+, but I can re-roll it because of Vengeance for Cadia. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh dear, what a wet fart that turned out to be. Oh god, that was terrible. Oh no! Oh well. Command point spent. The Emperor has abandoned us. Flee! Flee for your lives! Still got this over here to do at least, I suppose. Well, this squad opened fire. I didn't do it on camera, not necessarily expecting much, but the plasma gunner did kill one of them. So the heretic with the las cannon has been cut down by a couple of plasma bolts. Lovely jubbly. Unfortunately, all the las guns failed to wound. Well, no, they did. One of them did wound, but these guys passed their save of a 3+. So that's just the one guy dead. And now I imagine the sergeant here is turning around, shouting up to the ratling, "Shoot those ones! Shoot them!" So that's what they're going to do. That is going to be 6 shots. 1, 2, there we go, 6. Shooting at the Chaos Marines, hitting on 3s. 4 hits. 4s to wound, 6s do mortal wounds. There's a mortal wound. But no other actual wounds. Okay, so another one. See with the guy with the banner, I think. He cops it as well. Headshot. Leaving only the man with the missile launcher left standing. That did not go quite perfectly according to plan. And you know what? It's not actually over. I forgot these guys. There's a sergeant, a voxcaster, and a flamer in that squad. Let's do the flamer. 6 shots. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now we're talking. I didn't do this already, did I? I don't think I did. Did I? Oh no, I have to check. Right, I went back through and checked the other clips. It's getting late. I've been at this a while now, so memory is a thing. Or not a thing with me, as it turns out. Short-term memory is not one of my strong suits. Anyway, we didn't do these 3 guys yet. So there's the flamer auto hits. Well, no. There's the wounds. There's the wound rolls. So that is 3 successful wounds on these cultists. They now have, let's see, they do have cover from there. So 5 up saves. Oh, they make 2 of them. Only one of them goes down. As if. We also have a sergeant with a las pistol. Pew misses. Actually, he stayed still so we can re-roll that. He's Acadian. Right, it actually hits. It actually wounds. It actually kills one. Nice one, Sergeant. Well done, Sarge. And then the last is the Voxcaster. Rapid firing. 2 hits. No wounds. Right, that's actually 4 of these guys dead now. That's going to cause them some morale problems, if nothing else. So, well done. Okay. That's all the shooting done. Charge phase? I'd love to charge these guys back in there, fix bayonets, and charge into that one Chaos Marine with a missile launch, but they can't, unfortunately, because they fell back this turn. And even though the order let them shoot, it doesn't allow them to charge. So, let me just remove these 2. Yeah. And remove these 4. No charges, therefore. So, morale. He lost 2 guys. 6, 7, 8. He would run away, but he's a word bearer, so he can re-roll this. Into a 5, which means he is actually fine. So he's not running away anytime soon with his lone dude with a missile launcher with a bunch of dudes. I need to stop calling everything a dude when I can't remember the name off the top of my head. This Chaos Marine with a missile launcher refuses to run away in the face of half a squad of Imperial Guardsmen. That's better, isn't it? Use your vocabulary, Dave, once in a while. It's a wonderful rainbow of different phrases and words you could be using instead of calling everything a dude. Speaking of which, these dudes need to do a morale test as well. The last 4 guys. 4 plus 4 is 8. Pretty sure they only have like leadership 6 or something. So that's a fail. One of them runs away. The remaining 5 have an attrition test to do, and it will be 1s and 2s causes them to run away. Aha, look at that. Because they're under half strength. So 2 more of them decide, maybe I don't want to die for the Dark Gods actually today. Which leaves 3. That's certainly a bit more manageable, isn't it, all of a sudden? Yes. 1 Chaos Marine, 3 cultists there, 1 cultist squad there, and a sorcerer versus some ratlings, some guardsmen, a missile launcher, and a lieutenant. There's not quite a clear winner yet, is there really? But regardless, that is the end of the Astra Militarum's turn. Let's head on over to the heretics. Alright folks, it is the end of Wordbearer's turn 4 movement phase. Lykesis and his small gaggle of cultists have moved forth, still securing the middle objective, and I think I have to dock a point from the Cadians because I gave them one last battle round, thinking they still were securing that back one, but they're not. The tank got blown up, so the score right now is actually 7-2. Oh dear. Yeah, the Cadians need to kill every last heretic here, otherwise they've had it, frankly. And depending on what happens in this turn, well, their hopes may be dashed quite quickly. This missile launcher, he's run off back behind these crates rather wisely to get out of line of sight of those rattling snipers. And I guess this pile of crates here does count as like a barricade for cover purposes. Normally it wouldn't matter because you're not going to hide an entire squad of dudes behind a box. But he's one guy, so I guess that counts, right? Counts narratively as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, he'll have a cover save from them shooting at him there unless they move this way and flank him a bit. So yeah, he's moved back behind those boxes to get out of line of sight of those guys and get into cover a bit. He has moved, so he'll be hitting on a 4+ with that missile launcher of his. And those 3 over there, they've stayed where they are. Those 3 Crimson Legionnaires, they have stayed put. Lykesis' plan at the moment really is to go forth and, well, slaughter in the name of the Dark Gods, pretty much. In his psychic phase, and it is really his psychic phase, as opposed to the psychic phase, he's the only psyker on the table, and has been for the entire game. He's first going to cast Prescience. And, do you know what? I think he's going to cast it on himself. Yeah. I think he's going to cast it on himself. He has a bit of a plan. He's feeling a bit selfish now. He feels like he's got the upper hand and victory is potentially assured. He just needs to sort of strike the final blow. So I think he's going to cast Prescience on himself. Needing a 6 with his magic book, which he gets. He's then going to cast Warp Time, again, on himself. Needing a 5 with his magic book, which he doesn't get. Aha! That's thrown a spanner in the works. Is there any way he can get around that? There is. He could use his stratagem. He's got 2 command points at the moment. He could use 1. He would take a wound. Oh, where I've put my wound dice now. There we go. So he'd have 4 wounds left. The spell would go off though, allowing him to then move 6 inches in front to get within very easy charge distance of those poor troopers over there. And then I could use my last command point on the Great Sorcerer to cast a smite. And I think that's what I'm going to do. Alright, he's moved again thanks to Warp Time. Is Lykesis, in his arrogance, about to bite off more than he can chew? We'll find out. using my second command point and the last one we have at the moment on the Great Sorcerer. So he will cast a third psychic power, which will be Smite, on a 4. That is an 8, becomes a 9. That definitely passes. D3 mortal wounds. For 3, these 3 troopers here who have stalwartly held the... Oh god, I'm making a mess. Held the line. I'm trying to reach all the way across the table for some stupid reason. Who have stoically held the line this entire game. Well, their heads exploded. That's what happened right there. Their heads just exploded with purple bolts of lightning, which now leaves Lachesis free to charge the command squad and the lieutenant. If he can kill Lieutenant Bosker, cut off the head, destroy the very small chain of command that the troopers have here, I think we could probably fairly safely say that he's won the day. The question is, will he be able to do it though? So he's got precedence on himself. He still does have to make the charge though. If he fails that charge, he's going to be in some hot water, let me tell you. Right. That's all the psychic. On to the shooting. This missile launcher. He is going to fire his missile launcher at... who is he going to fire at? Who is he going to fire at? I think he's going to fire at the guys right in front of him. That would seem like the most pressing concern for him, rather than deciding, oh, right, I've been fighting these guys for the last 10 minutes. I'm going to fall back here now and shoot at someone else completely on the other side of the battlefield, and I need to stop knocking things over. Good God. But I think you take my point. Yeah, he's going to shoot a frag missile at the guardsman in front of him. D6 shots for 5. Hitting on a 4+ because he moved. Wounding on a 3+. 3 wounds. No cover save because they're not totally behind the barricade, I'm afraid. And that is 2 troopers dead. Dead. To a frag missile exploding among them, being taken out by the shrapnel. Now, these cultists over here are going to be firing their flamer and rapid firing if they can, if they're in range anyway, at the command squad. Well, folks, I've got some bad news for this command squad. That flamer over there, it's very much in range. Only a couple of the other cultists are in rapid fire range, but they're very much in range. So, oh dear. We'll start with the flamer. The cultist flamer, D6 auto hits. For 3. That's all you technically need. Wounding on 3s. 3 wounds. 3, 5 up. 5 karma saves. Oh no, only 1 still lives. I guess we'll lose the medic. And we'll lose the Voxcaster. The melter gunner leaping in front of the lieutenant to block any incoming fire. But it may be for naught, I'm afraid. The rest of those cultists have opened fire with their auto guns after the flamer on this lone remaining melter gunner. She's got... I need to stop knocking over this damn tree. Flipping it. It's got some blue tack on the bottom to try and keep it in place, but it really doesn't work. I should probably mount it on a proper base or something, but blah. Anyway, back into the action. Long story short, she's got 2 5-up flak armor saves to make. Oh man, she makes 1, but so close. She falls as well, leaving Bosker standing alone atop a small mound of corpses, I'm afraid. His first command has not gone particularly well, has it? It must be said. I feel pretty bad for him, honestly. And it does certainly look like Lachesis was not overconfident at all. He knew exactly what he was doing. He wants to take the lieutenant himself as a prize. Well, alright then. Let's do it. I think that's all the shooting. No, it's not all the shooting. These guys over here, I almost forgot. I believe the flamer could shoot the lieutenant, I think. But I'm not going to, because I like the idea of Lachesis being like, no, this one is mine. So, this Fucking tree. Right, it got blown up. The tree got blown up. An artillery shell comes down and lands right there. A mortar shell. Kaboom. Tree is completely blown to smithereens. Luckily, no one else was hit. Fucking trees. Right, anyway. Yeah, so the flame was not going to fire because it's not in range of anything else. But the two chaps with auto guns will fire at this missile team. Hitting on 4s. Wounding on 4s. 1 wound. 1 5+ save. This missile team is dead. Emperor protects. Alright. That is the shooting concluded. Well, I suppose Lachesis does have a bolt pistol. Is he within 12 inches of... Well, you tell you what, he'll shoot the lieutenant with his bolt pistol. That makes sense. Kind of was tempted to use Demon Shell, but I don't have the command points for it now. I had to use one of them on the Psychic Stratagem, sadly. Otherwise, he probably would have fired a Demon Shell at the lieutenant, because that would have been so cool. Would it be even cooler, actually, is if I had the Boon of Chaos power instead of Malefic Strength, or whatever it's called? Which I probably should have cast on him, instead of putting Prescient on himself. Diabolic Strength, that's what it's called. I should have done that instead. Never mind. But yeah, if I had Boon of Chaos or whatever it's called, I could have... Gift of Chaos, that's it. That's the one. Could have turned the lieutenant into a Chaos Spawn. That would have been hilarious. But alas, no. We're going to kill him the old-fashioned way. So, 1 bolt pistol at the lieutenant. Poor bloody lieutenant. It hits. It wounds. Does the lieutenant's 5-up refractor field bounce it off? It doesn't. The lieutenant does, in fact, take a wound. He has 3 left. Now it's the charge phase, and Lachesis will naturally be leaping over here, this barricade, to get to the lieutenant. Now, it's not as easy a charge as it might necessarily look, because the barricade will give you -2 movement, so he probably needs to roll something quite good here. Let's see if he does. That's an 8. That's probably enough. Can confirm it was just enough. Warlord fight! It's happening. Right. Lachesis, because he was stupid enough, or possibly distracted enough, to forget to cast Diabolic Strength on himself, only has 3 attacks, but they will hit on 2s because of Prescience, so he's got that going for him, I suppose. And I've just knocked the entire table. I'm so excited, I just banged it with my leg. Anyway, hits on 2s with Prescience. Very nice. It's a strength 7, so it'll wound on 2s. It does. -1 AP, but it doesn't matter because the lieutenant has a 5-up invulnerable save with his refractor field. He needs to make 3 of them. He makes none of them. Each one is D3 damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm afraid Lieutenant Bosca has been brought down. I suspect, unfortunately though, that Lachesis will probably choose to spare his life in order to take him alive and interrogate him later. I wouldn't want to be the lieutenant right now, let me tell you that. So yeah, the sorcerer has his prize. He's of course staring down the barrel of a missile launcher now, however. So that's totally a thing. We'll see what happens with that. Maybe he really did bite off more than he could chew. However, the lieutenant is down. There's no points for slaying the warlord in this scenario, but regardless, it always feels good to do it. If you're Heretic Dave, anyway, if you're Cadian Dave, you are now weeping inconsolably because the lieutenant has been taken out. Oh no. Oh well. I suppose we could consolidate actually a bit further towards the missile launcher because I don't know, why not really. But yeah, let's remove the lieutenant. There's a casualty. His fate yet uncertain as we close out the turn. I believe there is one morale test to do that will actually potentially have an interesting result, and I think that is first squad over here. They lost 3 guys. They're fine on a roll of a 1. In fact, a roll of a 1 always automatically passes in 9th edition. I need to remember that, actually. That's totes a thing. Alright. Cool. Nice. Oh, do you know what? I forgot this entire game, by the way. Do you know what? I've totally forgotten. I've just now realised I forgot this entire game. I forgot Death to the False Emperor. I know it's traditional for me to forget Death to the False Emperor, but doubly so when I've not played a game of 40k in ages that wasn't against myself. And I haven't played with my Chaos for about half a year, even more. So I'm going to say that's my excuse, but as the regulars of this channel will know that even on a good day, I forget Death to the False Emperor. It's really situational, okay? I don't play my Chaos as much as I'd like to, and it only counts versus Imperium armies. I really have no excuse. It's been 3 years now? I've had enough time to remember it. I'm sorry, everyone. About 6 people have already typed Death to the False Emperor in block capitals in the comment section. I know. I'm sorry, everyone. Ah, dear. Wow, I got on a bit of a tangent there, didn't I? Right, okay. I think it's turn 5. I think it's Cadian's turn 5, the final turn of the game, because random game length is no longer a thing in 9th edition for some reason. So the games always end on turn 5. So, yeah, Cadian's turn 5. Well, folks, this is a short one. I'm pretty much sure that mathematically at this point there's no way for the Cadians to win. They would have to kill every single Chaos model on the table in one turn to win. And with what they've got left, it ain't happening. This will be a victory for the word bearers. But one question remains. What happens to the sorcerer? He cuts down the lieutenant with his force stave, batters the poor guy to the ground with psychic power, and then sees these guys in front of him. These 2 wounded and bleeding missile troopers who have just about enough time to offer a quick prayer to the Emperor, chuck a crack missile down the tube, pull the trigger, and hope for the best at point blank range. Does the Emperor guide their shot? They have remained still, so they can re-roll ones to hit, being Cadians. There's no lieutenant around to give them any orders, though. They fire 1 crack missile at the sorcerer. It will hit on a 4+, re-rolling ones. It does hit. It is strength 8, so I'll wound on a 2. Would you look at that? It doesn't wound. They fire it at point blank range, and it sails right between the 2 dragon head things on his backpack. That's what I like to think. It goes whoosh, straight over his head. Lachesis then turns to them. In his following turn, in turn 5 for the word bearers, he'll probably do a smite, which will go off. D3 mortal wounds. Didn't even need to roll for it. They've only got 1 left. And he kills them both with a bolt of psychic lightning. This leaves only the remainder of this squad, or first squad here, and the Ratlings still compos mentis. At which point the Voxcaster turns to his sergeant and says, "Sarge, I can't reach the lieutenant on the Vox. I think he's had it." The Sarge looks around, surveys the battlefield, ducks as a few more order gun shots come flying his way, and says, "Right, that's it, lads. We're falling back." And that's exactly what they do. He motions to the Ratlings as well, who melt away into the undergrowth, and they leave this place. They have bled like stuck pigs and died like dogs. And for what? A few crates of ammunition, some bandages, some ration packs? I'm afraid so. And it was all for naught anyway. They didn't even get that. That stuff will go to the word bearers as Lachesis brings in a few more of his cultists to start ripping this place apart and transporting all of those supplies to the surface where they can be distributed amongst the forces of the word bearers on this planet as they continue their advance on Abakan Epsilon. The Cadian 404th will have to go on without any additional supplies as they continue to fall back to, fallback line, essentially, that the Imperium has set up. As they begin a desperate defence, awaiting more reinforcements to arrive and stabilise the Chaos Onslaught, essentially. This battle, ladies and gentlemen, is over. I hope you enjoyed watching it. It's been a bit weird. I mean, I've played Warhammer against myself before. I've done it before. I play chess against myself sometimes, honestly. I find it's a good way of learning the game. But doing a battle report, a solo hammer battle report, has been an incredibly different experience. For one thing, my brain is currently melting out of my ears and dripping into a small puddle on the floor, because trying to remember the rules for two different sides and also commentate and do all that kind of stuff at the same time has basically killed what was left of my brain cells, and I'm now a gibbering lunatic. But so I hope you enjoyed this, because I don't have the mental capacity to ever do this again. I'm kidding, but it kind of feels like that. I hope you enjoyed it, though. I hope it was something to brighten your day and bring you a bit of a scratch of the 40k itch. It did for me, at least, in these terrible COVID lockdown times. As I said, we're going to be locked down probably until at least the spring, I think. So it's going to probably be a little while again before I can get together with my friends and film some more 40k, because I do miss those guys, and I miss doing the campaigns with Dan. We always seem to pick really good times to do our campaigns, and by good I mean terrible. The first one got interrupted by my appendicitis, and the second one's been interrupted by a global pandemic. It's like the universe is trying to tell me something. I'm not quite sure what. The universe is a gift sometimes. Anyway, folks, I hope you're all doing okay. I hope you're staying safe, and I hope you enjoyed watching this. If you want me to do more of these, I'm totally open to it, because this was an awful lot of fun, if a little bit taxing on my brain. I think it's one of those things that I would probably get better at with practice, to be fair. But I am glad I kept it to just a small 600-point skirmish as opposed to going crazy and doing a full 2,000 points bash, because I'd probably be on the floor speaking in tongues by now if I tried to do that. So, yeah. But there it is, folks. We finally got to see the Cadian 404th and the Wordbearers of the Darkmoor square off against each other, which is kind of fun, actually. They're arguably my two favourite armies. They're certainly the ones that have had the most background and narrative published for them on the channel so far. So it's kind of fun to see them knocking heads together, really. And, yeah. I don't think there's anything else to say other than terrain shout-outs, I suppose. That mat in the middle, this thing, that's from Games Workshop. That's a Kill Team board. This mat, though, this is from urbanmats.com. The table's from urbanmats.com. These buildings, these are from urbanmats.com. These barricade trench things, which I absolutely love and are really useful in 9th edition with the new rules. These are pre-painted from Red Dragon Wargaming, and they are fantastic. Recommend these a lot. They're really good. The pipes are also from urbanmats.com. That generator thing and that big generator thing, they're both from gamemat.eu. These walls are from... crap, I can't remember. The train set is called Desolation City, I think. Google Desolation City, and you'll find out what the company is that makes these, because it'll take you straight there. Desolation City, I think it's called. These laser cut MDF pre-printed, painted / whatever jobbies. They're very good. And then the rest of the stuff like these barricades it creates. That's all Games Workshop. Yeah, there we go. Oh, the hills are from a bloke on eBay. Can't remember the name off the top of my head. Right, I think that's everything. Thanks very much, everybody. I shall see you next time, whenever the hell that happens to be. Toodaloo.